Okay.
Attention, please.
Yo. 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 Yo.
What is going on, everyone? It's David Palmer, Leo King, and Dr. Ann Wohlcke here for History in the Stars. 1535 is looking a lot like 2026. What's going on? Ann, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing wonderfully. I was having quite the Mercury retrograde day today.
Oh, yeah.
And then I got here and you fixed my document and got me to figure out how to make AI create the document I wanted. So yay. Who knew something technical could go right with Mercury retrograde?
AI will make a document. The issue is my moon in Taurus, right? Like, it better be the best document. It better look exactly the way it's supposed to.
Right.
And that was without even
Mm-hmm.
me going like, hold on, spend 2 minutes and watch this. But that was like, here in 1 second. There's so many things right now.
I know.
It's kind of
So,
crazy how
Is the
fast things are
problem
going.
that my moon in Libra can't do this?
No.
Is it that?
It's not that.
It's
No.
just that I lack the moon in Taurus. That's it.
No.
I mean, yeah, I have moon also conjunct Uranus. So I always feel like that throws it off as well. But I had a really great idea in my mind of what I wanted it to look like. And then I just couldn't get it to execute. That seems like such a moon in Taurus thing that you helped me with then. So thank you.
I think yeah, because it was, maybe you're right. Maybe it's not because you have a moon in Libra. It just means like that's where our strengths come in. I think in knowing friends and their moon signs and stuff. It's kind of like you were like, it looks like crap. Look at how the lines, and you know, my moon in Taurus is like, oh, I know what you want. You want the aesthetic good, and you want so that moon in Taurus. I can't put anything out, but see, that's your Venus ruled moon too.
Mm-hmm.
If it doesn't look good, it's not worth
Well, look,
putting out.
I mean, I don't know if you can show people. I
Oh, I
feel like
can,
they
yeah.
need to know. Actually, that was not.
That-
Here's one. I asked it to put visuals, and it looks ugly. I mean, what are those little?
I mean, that looks like
blocks?
something from the 80s. Like,
I could
like-
do that in the same amount of time as it took me to wait for AI to do it. I could have done that. On
that
my
looks
own.
like a website from 2002.
Yes, that was not passable. Then the next version was.
That was when she hit me up like in here. She's like, "What? Why won't it just make what I want it to make?"
I know. I was saying, make the rows bigger. I wanted it to look nice, and it told me, it promised all these things. It said,
Oh, it'll
"Oh,
promise
I'll make
everything.
it with this beautiful background color and images. Would you like me to do that?" And I'm like, "Yes, of course. That's what I just asked you to do."
Right.
So then I say yes, and it gave me that. That was it. When I was like, "David, help!"
Then show them what it looks like
And
now.
now, nice and clean, the basic information that you'll be learning today.
with background.
The beautiful background. It knows.
And
it
I
was,
pushed one button.
Exactly.
I
Are
didn't
you going
even
to share
type-
what that is, or do they need to take your
I
AI
think I typed
class?
one line. I said, "Follow this that you said, but no
Yes.
excuses." But then I did it in agent mode, and
Yeah. But
Yeah.
look how nice. What? I mean, come on. Why is it holding back? I'm very
I described
upset.
to you earlier that it really is data based. So it there's only so much computing power that is available.
Mhm.
And so for users out there who don't prompt correct or whatever, they
Right.
just, if you're in a chat like bot, like if you're in a chat box, like, you know, they're only going to do whatever. It's lazy
Mhm.
unless it's prompted, and then it's easy for it. Cause it's like, oh, it's giving me it in a coded manner that I understand. So you have to learn the alien language.
Yeah. You do. And you know what's so funny? And you might get a chance to watch this movie if you haven't already, because your kids will love it. Did you watch The Incredibles? Because this is making me think of The Incredibles. Have you ever watched it? It's
I can't
when
say.
Mr. Incredible works. They outlaw superheroes, and because there are too many lawsuits, and so after they outlaw the superheroes, Mr. Incredible has to work for an insurance company, and his boss hates him because he knows all the workarounds, and he's helping the little old lady figure out how to actually get what she needs from her insurance company, I think medical insurance. And the people who are his bosses get mad at him. It's the same sort of thing with AI. It's like it's conserving, obviously, because there's limited power and resources, right? So it's conserving all of the quality stuff, but you have to learn the workaround. You need to find the form or figure out the language or the button that you need to push. So I don't know if this is a Pluto and Aquarius thing or if it has anything to do with the astrology. But also, I don't know, are you going to share what it was that you did, or
With what?
how you got it to
I don't
work
know.
finally?
I didn't really do much, but
Oh,
you would
well,
have to show people your chat.
yeah, let me see.
Like, oh yeah, you just scroll up. So, well, if you scroll up more, you went, make this right.
Yeah.
So what did you say after it looked crappy? I didn't even read it.
Yeah, after
I didn't
this,
even read it.
I put a screenshot.
Oh, you put
This
a screenshot.
is what it looks
okay.
like. Can you make it nicer?
So believe it or not,
Because-
I did not see this. I just saw the last couple lines and I saw that it had said, oh, I'll do this, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. So then I said, and then it's promising all these false promises.
Well, no.
It tells me what it looks like. But
it's
did
not,
you do this?
No, right? So then if you scroll down to the bottom, that's where all I saw was
Which direction?
follow the way to make this table and do it correctly. No excuses. And I just turned the agent mode on and had the agent make it to where it's now it's like forced to, I got to figure these exact things out because there's not an agent working in the chat. The chat's an LLM. So it's just preset language model.
Right. And so you asked an agent to come in, a virtual agent.
Correct. To then
comes
spend
in
the
and
time
dedicates
and go
it.
through all those lines. Whereas let's say you just in the chat go, okay, make this again.
Right.
It's going to maybe take pieces of that and just try and get it as quick out as possible.
Right.
And it's not an agent. It's not, because the problem with any of these models now, they're all multi-models built in, right? So ChatGPT 5 is really, you actually run 5.1 because that just came out today, I guess, right? But what it's doing is it's got a little reasoning. It's got, let's try and get this out as fast as we can. It's also got this nano mode, which is like the cheapest, right? Where it's like, so it'll use nano. So people don't realize, like, you have to be very specific in the model you're using and understand it for what you're doing. And the fast way, because we had 1 sec, I was just like, hey, watch, I'll make it happen.
I didn't even know about agent mode, so that was all new to me.
Yeah, I mean, agent mode does a lot of things, but really what, in my mind, how it works is like, okay, something needs to spend the time to actually look at this and do it. And an agent mode is the cheap way and the quick way to do it, because the prompting wasn't really that intense. So if you don't want to spend time on prompting, you can use an agent mode and it'll prompt itself basically and take those things. But yeah, so
that's the best way too. If I put a picture in of make something that looks like this, an agent mode would be able to do that better, right?
Yeah, I mean, you could do that. It'll take the time.
Yeah.
So, that's the thing is that, I mean, it's like the operators that were on the lines of the phone lines. almost 100 years ago.
Can you please
And
patch me into the
and
right
it
line?
still used routes, right? We still use routes and all that stuff
Yeah.
in software and AI especially. But it's like, what it's doing is it's going, oh, gosh, this person wants to talk to this person. Like, but it's kind of like, oh, hold on 1 second. I'll connect you to Mr. Mr. Smith. He's the CEO
He's
of
on
that
the
company. So they really put that phone call through good.
Not just to the
Not
customer
just like,
service rep.
wrong one. Sorry.
Or you get a party line, like the Disneyland phone.
Yeah, but like those old routers, like those old operators, they used to it was depending on who would, if it was an important person, they would put their cigarette down and make sure it got in that one.
Well, also, I mean, have you ever seen film footage of those old operator centers where they're all there,
Oh, right.
like all of them plugging their stuff so fast, and it's all this talking and all these people trying to patch all the different phone calls. So I can imagine if AI is overwhelmed in a similar way, it's almost like it is like the technology is there, but the system hasn't caught up with what's out there. It's overloading the system. It's figuring out shortcuts. It's refusing to put its cigarette down and patch it to the right people, the right specific office, right? So yeah,
Right.
very good lesson in utilizing AI
Yeah.
to be an assistant that's working for you, not just
right. I mean, there's so many different ways. I mean, because I'm teaching AI course. I mean, I'm in code builders and I'm teaching people to build things, and I'm kind of in that crazy level for people where like being stuck in ChatGPT. I'm not even in ChatGPT much.
But you use ChatGPT to create that Astro game, or no?
No, I use many different models, but I know I didn't build it. What I'm teaching people is to get off of
The basic stuff.
the basic and to actually go use AI to do crazy cool stuff and consciously and build conscious stuff for people in the world.
Yeah.
So, but you can't build anything. And because I've had people telling me that, oh, I've got my in ChatGPT. Whenever I hear that, I'm like, right. It's like, oh no, that's not good.
Well, it's where we're starting. And we're
Correct.
learning
But people
more.
think like it understands you, or it chats only or for that chat.
Right.
And then they're not constantly thinking about you or anything.
They're not.
No.
I'm so upset.
So it's just really like you have to go build it. But yeah, you could build using ChatGPT by helping you give it certain code and prompts, or like how I build my own GPT, like executive ones that do certain things, and put it and use maybe a GPT-5 Pro, and then that code, and then put that into a code builder, and then really go to town.
Mm-hmm. So do you have your game out where people can play
Yeah,
it
it's
now,
just
or-
astroarena.fun.
Astro Arena. I couldn't remember.
Yeah, astroarena.fun.
Yeah. .fun.
Yeah, it was $1.
Oh, wow.
So they were trying to sell astroarena.com for $5,999 last night. I was like, this is just an open source, the first like astrology arcade game and 3D video game that's for the web, that's free.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just trying to show people that they can build anything AI wise that they could dream of. So I thought, well, in the AI or in the astrology community, it's not like we have anybody building astrology video games. I thought of something random and like putting it through like a simulation experience and also like a aspect challenge game that you could play with your friends, right? And built that and put that live out and deployed it, right? And showed people the proper steps to understand GitHub, to understand where like that's where coding is housed in the cloud world of the internet, and then goes out to a server to get deployed and how to do that. So if people want to play it, I mean,
yeah, it's fun.
But yeah, I mean, this is gonna be an interesting one because 2026 is fast approaching. We spent that last episode I thought was really good on the French Revolution, and that was like looking a little bit farther ahead with Pluto and Aquarius, especially.
Mm-hmm.
But and then we did mention, and we have mentioned times before, this period of now is more relatable to 1533 and 4, and especially we didn't really actually cover like what's to come, like after this little period. Like, what does Neptune, when it comes back into Aries, look like with Pluto and Aquarius at the same degree, which is going to happen in 2026. Last time was 1535. Like, what happened? I think we had some pretty powerful insights that came through. I think the first is Neptune in Aries could feel very much like it's the defining look of things, but it could also not be fully. It could take some time. Although it is going to be different because we have Saturn conjunct Neptune.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and Saturn was where in 1535 or 1534?
Oh, it was in Cancer, I'm pretty sure, with Uranus. So that's what's going to add a little different aspect, but still the two outer planets being the same way, and Neptune being back at 29 Pisces at the end of 1534, and then going back into Aries at the spring or early winter or late winter of 1535. It's really interesting to see that historical events. And we've talked about a lot of these events, but these are kind of the post of what we've been talking about, which are the initiations, whether it's the Reformation or whether it's the Spanish and the Incan Empire, or whether it's even about what was happening with, at that time, more Reformation stuff, of course, but how different countries or the church were dealing with religion or dealing with the beginning of Protestants. I guess they would be more Lutherans, right? And it's kind of interesting to see it. It kind of is a garbled mess at the end of 1354 when Neptune's back in Pisces. Like, it's like a little weird. And then I looked at it like 1535 is really weird.
It is.
What are your thoughts about it?
I think that since we started looking at all of the events that were happening in 1533 to 35, really, and when you look at every region of the world and you see every region shifting and not just, saying, hey, why don't we try having different colored chairs in the, kingdom or whatever. I know it's like these huge, this religion's falling apart. People are protesting this religion. This region's taking over. It's just in every part of the world, empires are collapsing. It's crazy. So when you look at, because we've always been zooming in on one particular region, but from the perspective of the world, it is a time where things are so unfixed, they're falling apart, but people are still trying to use the old structures.
Right.
And you can really see them fall. And what is interesting about history, the way this period of history gets taught a lot of times is that you go from, Henry VIII, like if it's British history, Henry VIII, then a lot of weird stuff happens with his son and with his daughter. And then Elizabeth I comes to the throne, and you spend a lot more time talking about all of the changes that start with Elizabeth I and then going into James I.
Yeah.
Because that's a more defined and great period of British history where England has risen and they have more power and all of that. And in the Spanish Empire, you talk about this period of time and you talk about going into the Americas and everything that happens. And then they kind of jump ahead to the abdication of Charles V. And then Spain kind of falls out of a lot of mainstream histories. I'm not talking about historians who actually focus on these times. But our stories about the 1530s and 40s really get lost in a fog. It's just, we kind of think that the world just suddenly changed. And I think it's really interesting to think of it from, I was putting all those events into AI and having it come up into just ChatGPT. Sorry, it wasn't advanced AI reasoning,
but
I was asking it to come up with a theme. because I was thinking, what would I say about this? And it said 1533 to 34, a seismic global shift, collapse, rebellion, and the rewriting of power. And I thought this was key, where it says, it's the moment when the medieval world finally breaks apart, a global seismic shift where popes, emperors, kings, and empires all lose their old certainties and entirely new systems of power begin to rise. So
that feels very familiar with now.
well, does it feel like that? I mean, this is what I'm thinking. Like,
very much so.
yeah. So but it also sort of feels like we can get really focused on the things that are falling apart in our world, and then really complain about that and really want to change it, thinking, I feel like we still have the thought it's going to go back to an older way that it was. There's a lot of people who are fighting from the perspective that, well, I really want my SNAP benefits or whatever, exactly like they are right now, or whatever thing it is around the world, or I really want to protest my government in the streets in the same way that people were able to do that in the 1950s or 60s. And things are changing. I'm not saying that we shouldn't be able to do that, but it's just like those basic things that we structured our lives around are they're probably not coming back. But I don't think we realize that. And these people at this time didn't either. So it caused a lot of struggle.
True. Well, I used Hypergate.
Okay.
And I said, the astrology of 1535 has a lot of common astrology, especially leaving 1534 with Pluto in Aquarius and Neptune in Aries, then back in Pisces, then back in Aries in 1535, like we will get in 2026. What historical events from then will rhyme in the future? What should we pay attention to? Similarities to the news of now in 2025. This is a mundane astrology look, not to a natal chart. So it identified this stuff. It pulled concrete 1535 events as anchors. Of course, this is Hypergate, so it knows all the astrology. Mm-hmm. So this is how its summary is. Let's see if it's similar. It was a period of imperial expansion, violent conflict between competing powers, religious rupture and martyrdom, rapid information and printing shifts, and exploration, colonial foundation building. If the planetary archetypes you name, Pluto, Aquarius, Neptune oscillating between Pisces, Aries, Uranus moving into Gemini, Saturn, Neptune residences reemerge in 2025 through 2026, expect modern rhymes in those same domains. Big geopolitical shocks, technological communications disruption, ideological purges, and the legal religious institution strain. Intensified colonization era legacies manifesting in politics, economics, plus environmental health flashpoints. Below are the historical anchors with the concise parallels and what to watch. So, of course, in 1535 at the beginning was the foundation of Lima, and through Perazo, a colonial consolidation in the Americas, or Jacques Cartier's voyage to the St. Lawrence. There was a lot of exploration going on, but not crazy stuff. Like it was kind of like,
I think the crazier stuff kind of happened in the 15th century, where people are really finding new routes and all of that. But this is the time where they are coming in explicitly to found new empires or to assert their state power in a different region.
Well, I thought one of the bigger events that I saw was, of course, Charles V of the Holy Roman Empire and his reconquest of Tunis, but that's in the Ottoman Empire. And the French were like allied with the Turks and allied with the Ottomans at point. So that's kind of what saved King Henry VIII during his leave of the church. Was like him and France weren't happy, but he would get with the Holy Roman Empire. He would get there was a lot of mix and oh, now I'm friends with France again. It was like always throughout his period after the events that we're going through now. Back then, it was very much, he had to really know where he's not going to get beat down, really. Right. And I think it's interesting that might be something we can go into and look at that astrology, because that's pretty similar to what 2026 looks like. But then there's also, we talked about Thomas More last episode, but his actual execution would have been like whoever right now is kind of like somebody where maybe you would think like they're kind of going against something that they usually were for. Yeah, there's a high probability that they might not turn out too good in 2026.
So you mean like
Well, I
the
mean, like,
Democratic Party members who defected or...
I mean, that's a good look, right? I mean, like right now,
Or it could be the people who didn't want to vote, like one of the sides.
I mean, it would have to be somebody pretty close. There's that whole Thomas More was very close to Henry, but also somebody who also wants to be a martyr. Because let's be honest, like Thomas More did not need to be executed. It wasn't like that was Henry's like automatic go-to. They were asking for him to sign his allegiance to the king after the Powers of Supremacy Act, which that's the other thing that comes
1534.
up is that the end of 1534, November, which is right now.
That's so funny.
Right? It's very, right? So there is that. And then the first complete English Bible was printed in Antwerp, October 4th, 1535. And so that was earth-shattering because now that kind of really is a blow to the Catholic Church and a win for Henry in a way, and especially for Lutherans all around the Europe, because it's almost like the sign of a rebellion that's actually working. And using the technology of the printing press to actually deliver something that almost was unbelievable not to, right? So like the way we look at AI today, kind of like, oh, I don't know if it'll do that, right? People have kind of like thought it couldn't do certain things. And now they're kind of being like, wait, it does that, right? This is though massive because there's that whole religious thing, whether it was Neptune and Aries. And really, if you look at the Civil War, there's a lot of the religion aspect behind all of it. And then, of course, really the Reformation is the big thing of Pluto and Aquarius, Neptune, Aries, transiting same time and doing the same exact dance that we're in right now, same degrees even. And you're seeing it right now with all this religious kind of battle and talk, and even just having Mondami being in New York and he's a Muslim and people are now talking about that. And of course, the whole thing with Charlie Kirk and Israel. And then you have here in America, actually, it was just like today, there was some in the Catholic Church, they have like some, I don't know, all the priests in America come together for some conference in America. And some priest at a Catholic church in New York just like had a gay couple in there and it was televised, and the priest brought it up, told the priest, and then they like shoved him off and didn't talk about it. I just saw it on X.
Huh. How interesting. Yeah.
So there's a lot of that religious thing that keeps popping up, but then these last parts, so it actually mapped for me what it really thinks on the imperial expansion, and of course giving the planetary archetype. So the Hypergate's saying here that Pluto in Aquarius is the long-term structural transformation, really building on the destruction of Pluto that it did in Capricorn and disrupting in Aquarius, and the great power reordering, and through the infrastructure, tech, and zones of influence, competition over AI, space, networks, and supply corridors. What to expect: new institutional maps, congested zones of jurisdiction, formalization of new economic political blocks, aggressive resource claims. It's kind of crazy because that's what like the trade deals right now are about. And even with Taiwan and China and America, and then Europe is buying more from China, and then there's a lot of this weird stuff.
$2,000 now.
I mean, that's not even, that's just to try and hope that the Supreme Court doesn't rule against Trump. So he put the Supreme Court in a hard place, promising $2,000 from the tariffs. And I knew he would say the legal jargon, which would be like, but because we're in an emergency, the tariffs because we're in an emergency. He said that.
Interesting.
That's because in the courts, that's what we heard in the hearing about this case, is about the tariffs, is like, well, the president's using his executive power of emergencies, declared 9 emergencies in order to make these trade deals with tariffs on them.
You know what's so interesting about that too is that's when you think, well, Trump seems a lot like he's our Henry VIII figure, because the other thing about Henry VIII with the oath, with the act of supremacy and the oath that he wanted people to take, it was done legally. I mean, I've said this before. He was smart enough to know, if I want these changes to be lasting, they have to go through Parliament, and we have to make this a legal reformation. So that's a similarity that, I mean, where I'm not trying to say, okay, Trump is the king. I'm saying that this is the moment where some people in power, because I'm sure we'd see it in different areas too, where they're using legal authority, or, you know, for the United States, that would be using the Constitution that was established during Pluto and Aquarius, right?
Yes.
And using that again.
Yeah, the Constitution was,
Yeah, to try to use power or sovereignty in a particular way, you know.
Yeah, it makes me think of the Supreme Court case about immunity. Like the Acts of Supremacy Act is very much like the executive immunity power that Trump had to not be charged of the 34 felony counts.
Well, I mean,
right? Because if you think about it, that the Acts of Supremacy made Henry the head of the church, completely of the Church of England, right?
Yeah.
Above the Archbishop, and that he had the sole discretion of everything in the church and how Christianity, and it was basically also reasserting his power as king over the subjects as well, that the Catholic Church had no space there.
Right.
Right? Mm-hmm. So wedged out the 3-tiered tiara crown, brought it to his crown only. Mm-hmm. But the irony of the immunity case is kind of like, in your branch, the executive, you do have immunity power, right? Where you don't have to listen to these, courts and the federal courts who are trying to sue you, or even the Department of Justice from that president or whatever, if it's something you were doing while you were the executive. Mm-hmm. So there's a similarity there.
Yeah. This is so funny because on Sora 2, like over the weekend, I don't know, there was a moment where I'd been doing a lot of work, and then I thought I need a break. So I made a few Sora videos.
I saw you did, because you and I follow each other.
One of them was Henry VIII signing his act of supremacy.
And then you said, remember the Magna Carta? And he's like, hey.
Yeah, some guy, I had an advisor say to him, remember the Magna Carta? You can't just come out and do these things because we have this tradition in England. And he says, just watch me. Or something.
Right, yeah.
It did it so perfectly, but I didn't even think that we'd be talking about that today. But it's just sort of like, watch me. I'm going to use the law to get what I want.
Because the government just opened back up, right? So like CNN was like, we were trying to find, there was Democrats who voted for the bill in the House to finally get this Senate to send over. And then I guess Trump's going to go on TV, right? And sign it right now. But, right, so like, that's like the breaking news. But the breaking news before this all day, which he thought it was going to be about this, was about the email with Trump about the Epstein files. And then now that there's that Democrat who was supposed to join from Arizona, they first had to, finally the speaker, because he finally called the House into session after 6 weeks or something, is like, she was the one, and she signed Massey's bill, and it's going to the House next week to release everything.
Right.
But what I'm going to tell you all is that, what is Henry VIII known for? Not the Reformation. To most people, you bring him up, it's his wives and the heads that were rolled, that he chopped off.
Right.
And did anything happen to him? No.
Because it was something at the time that was, he was pushing the limits, but at the time, people aren't uprising because the king has that power. And he would legally say, okay, you're guilty of treason. And we know treason means you get to have your head cut off. So he was doing it all using the methods of his time. So there is something now that's probably happening somewhere that
Well, I
we
think-
think's okay, that in the future they'll say, wow, those people were doing
No,
that.
I think that people would have probably been like they loved Queen Catherine, and then
Yeah.
and then of course they get Anne Boleyn, and then Anne's head gets chopped off, and it's kind of like, oh, I guess, do I root for this? It's like watching the World Series or something, like. But then it's like,
Yeah.
oh, it happens again with your young one, like your young wife, after you had another wife who you had a kid with, and she dies during childbirth, and then you marry
Catherine
another one, but
Howard.
then she's your sister now because you're not sexually
Oh,
connecting.
yes. Yeah. Mhm.
But then your little young one cheats on you, and you roll her head off, and of course then there's Thomas More or whatever, right? Like, but the idea is though that most people on the street, you say, hey, King Henry VIII, isn't that the guy who cut all his wives' heads off? Like
know.
Trump's always going to be known as, isn't that guy that was part of the Epstein thing? Like
Yeah.
that nothing happened.
Mm-hmm.
So it would have been a different story if Henry VIII would have, like, I don't know, if people did rise against him after the Reformation, right? Like the people in the North.
Well, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But there was all the War of the Roses, right? I'm surprised that there wasn't more, maybe, of like, hey, this guy's.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Well, that's why
if it was
people-
today's world, the War of the Roses would be still going on in England. You know what I mean? Like, as far as who's like, look at what Prince Andrew is right now. You're like, look at like that. Those aren't the real. That's not the real kingdom. That's not the real monarch.
That's an interesting comparison. I think in Henry VIII's day, the reason that the Wars of the Roses didn't break out was he was really smart because he was doing everything. I mean, one of the reasons he was doing everything he was doing was because of the Wars of the Roses. It was because they wanted to avoid another situation like that with the
that's because
ruling
his
houses.
dad married a Plantagenet.
Right. So because the Tudors become installed as the royal family,
Right.
but their claim is really weak, and he needs to get all of the nobles or the powerful people in England on his side. Yes, the Catholics have a big problem with him leaving the church, and there are uprisings about that. But at the same time, the fact that he left the church allowed him to get those lands from the church and to start to profit from those lands, and then to enrich people by giving them new titles. Because if you have a title in England, you need to also have the land, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he started to bestow titles on people with all that land that the church formerly had, right? So it's kind of
kinda
like
like the tech
today,
company.
where if there's enough money involved and you enrich the people, they'll still complain to their friends, and maybe they'll put up a portrait of you that's unflattering in their house or whatever, but they're going to enjoy profiting from their new enrichment.
Yeah, and so I think when I think of this Epstein thing, I think of how did also, if I use the other Neptune and Aries transit, right? It's like, yeah, the Civil War happened.
Mm-hmm.
All these states seceded. Jefferson Davis became the president of the southern states by creating the Confederate States of America. General Lee leaves and joins the South and becomes the head of their War Department there. And when the war ends, nobody gets in trouble. Lincoln says, let them keep all their guns. Let them keep all their properties. And let's just get along again.
Mm-hmm. Right.
There's a theme in Neptune and Aries that I see. You could do the worst heinous things in the world, and Neptune goes, it's okay.
Yeah, but I mean, okay. So are there
even the Spanish, right? They take
Oh,
over
yeah.
the Incan Empire, the Aztecs, and it's like nobody goes, how dare you? It's kind of just like, well, at least you killed all those people who ate people, those cannibals. I mean, like, my conclusion is that nothing will happen
with the Epstein files.
with that. Yeah, it's just going to be like Neptune and Aries just is not. I mean, I think the Civil War is a great example. I think the Reformation is a great example. That, you know, it's not like we saw England go into to Rome and go to the Vatican and you know, hang the Pope, or the Pope was never able to get another country to invade England and hang Henry, right?
I just feel like
so
that,
there's
like,
so what I'm trying to say is there's just not any of these big crazy things that happen, and when they get to kind of their end, everybody just kind of goes, it's okay.
most of the time, though. I mean, I was just thinking, okay, when in history have we seen something happen that is so horrible that the powerful leaders become persecuted? I mean, they're persecuted or rounded up, whatever, by a majority of people who have power. When do we see powerful people turning against other powerful people who they view as like them?
Right.
You know, I mean, we could look at what happened, or okay, then my other question is, when would Neptune be in a sign where there is justice? Would that be Neptune in Libra, the opposite side, or no?
I mean, yeah, so that's ironic, right? So the Pluto in Aquarius was during Neptune in Libra during the Revolutionary War.
Mm.
So you could say, yeah, there's justice there. But the problem is Neptune's really not the planet about justice.
Right.
Because if you think about the justice is Saturn and Jupiter, right? Because Kronos takes over, and then eventually Jupiter says, okay, my dad's bad, but then he turns out to be just like his dad. Some of the first things that happens when Zeus or Jupiter becomes an Olympian god, and then they set the table of the new Olympians and the Titans are done, is the same fear that one of your children is going to come back and take over your throne is the same thing that Kronos are. Just Jupiter, just, you know, he's still he instead of eating his children, he like eats his wife, and then, like, you know, or eats one of the women that he's having a child with and has to be born out of his head, you know. But like that idea of like Neptune is not in Neptune's Poseidon, and Poseidon's always to the side and getting involved with his own weird shit, and kind of like, don't kind of fuck with him over there when he's messing with women and stuff like that. But he's also kind of to the side. He's not in the main picture. So I think with Saturn on Neptune, there's so much of this reset coming. And I also think that the world will be distracted by so many other bigger things, unfortunately. So
Right. And so what was it about then after World War II when they had the Nuremberg trials?
So
why did that happen astrologically?
Well, so you got to think that's 1947. And that's at the same time, and within the year later, the formation of Israel, right? So it's what backed the Holocaust to create the state of Israel and Palestine. And ironically enough, it was only the leftover scientists, because the USSR and the Americans took all the good ones that were involved. So like von Braun was in the middle of that. I'm sure von Braun was doing some crazy SS stuff, right? But because he's on our side now and he's building, taking the V2 rocket ideas and bringing them here and doing all these other things, and you know that's where it's kind of like. But at that time, of course, it's Uranus at the end of Gemini in 47. It's also at the same time Pluto and Leo, which is opposite than Aquarius. So Pluto and Leo is going to get to the heart of like, you're a piece of crap taking happiness away from people. Pluto and Aquarius, people are zoned out on their fucking phones, and this Gen Z just, it's so lost, and everybody's like stuck on the internet.
If you're looking at 16th century, they're looking at their Protestant propaganda.
Yeah.
You know, they're looking at their new Bibles that were just printed.
Correct.
They're looking at all the other crazy stuff that was being printed at the time, being distracted.
Yeah. Pluto Leo is very, I would say that actually, this might sound crazy, but like justice is a mixture of things, but definitely having strong Leo energy. Because think about Trump, he's a Leo ascendant, right? And he's like, it's not that he has a vendetta to get back, but it's kind of like based off principle. Like Leo has principle. It's also the sun, right? So that rules over it. So the sun is what brings justice every day by bringing light to situations and needing to be in the right light too. So if it's especially not true, what's weird is like the way that Trump fights about the fake news. When it comes to the Epstein stuff, he doesn't fight it so hard.
No.
So I almost believe him when he's fighting really hard over something. But when he's kind of acting like it's no big deal, don't think about it. That's where I go, what?
Right.
So like even if the election, right? Like it's like he fucking fought hard for that thing, right? And especially that it was rigged and everything like that. But like the Epstein thing, he's just like, eh.
Yeah,
right.
Classic.
Right. Or like how many
distraction.
people are complaining about the vaccine and all the horrible effects it's doing. And even the American Heart Association just recent finding about it, right? It's like bad in every way. You know, he still wants to be the daddy of that and not distance himself from that. So yeah, I think that's where you kind of see a little bit more justice. Leo.
A lot
Aquarius
of
is the opposite. Like, you know what? Do I care?
Or it's justice of the mob. It's like a mob mentality, sort of not. I mean, because always if you talk about justice, it's always going to be about whose idea of justice is it? Is it going to be religiously informed? Is it going to be informed by what you think are your rights? Or, you know, is it informed by your idea about collective mentality? I mean, we looked at the Reign of Terror last time, and that was a group of people deciding we need justice, but it has to be this really narrow idea of justice. After everybody's killed off who has a different view, then you can have justice.
Right.
So it's always, it's an interesting idea, you know?
Yeah, and I want to finish with one other last thing as I'm thinking about it. The Epstein thing affects, like the people writing the stories about it, the people talking about it are ex-zennials, right? And above.
Right, yeah.
There's of course you could say there's some Gen Z, but Gen Z really doesn't understand it because they also don't have sex, right? 45% of men that are under 30 have never approached a woman.
Never approached
a woman to ask on a date. There's all this new data out, right? So they don't really have a deep connection to what that would be like because they're very phobic of intimacy and sex. And then we all grew up watching people on TV and know all these names and right. But that generation is like,
Right.
So that's why you're not seeing them go, like, that's why TikTok's just not littered with Gen Z talking about Epstein files. They're more littered about Israel or stuff like that, right? Like, it's not like they're obsessed with Epstein, but us old people are, because we're connected to the names, we're connected to the presidents, we're connected to it, and we also are the last generations that were having sex. And it's a sexual situation. And we're living in a world where we all know somebody, or we've all been affected by somebody who tried to do something too crazy to us, right? Or cross the line. But Gen Z kind of is very phobic of people and sex and all that weird stuff, unless they're OnlyFans or whatever, where they're on the internet doing it, but then they're in their own silo.
But they were indoctrinated. Sorry, I just drank water and it went down the wrong way. They were not indoctrinated, but they were really taught going through the past like 10 years. My kids would sit in on trainings that were like, and I mean in the workplace too, you have all the training about how to set up your, like my body, my space, or my safe zone. And they see in the media so many things where people are getting in trouble for, or getting sued, or their lives are being ruined over sexual accusations. So it's like they've been, raised to be afraid of sex or intimacy, right?
Yeah. And I would say that it's almost like them hearing about it subconsciously is very much like, this just sounds exactly like my teacher in fucking school telling us what we have to do and what you can't do. And it's like, it's not even part of my life. Like,
yeah.
Right. So like, this is just like this is what's kind of interesting is like Scott Galloway has a new book about men, right? Because that's the problem now. And that's what's going to be the existential threat to humanity now, is that men are disappearing and not showing up and not having kids, and women don't want to date them. They're not going into jobs. They're not graduating college, right? Like, it's bad, really bad. And so if you actually like kind of look at this whole like thing, it's also like a lot of the old Me Too movement trying to come back after men, like, and what they did in those days are way the opposite now. That actually men are not doing that, right? So these younger kids just don't even get close to it.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't affect them. So it's also, again, it's kind of interesting of where we'll see all that go. But what's interesting is Scott Galloway's new book, and he just did the last 2 weeks, he went around all the podcasts and TV and stuff. And he's putting out there in his book that he thinks all men in America need to serve at least 1 year in service. And because it gives them connection to actual people that are from different cultures, vibes, forces social interaction. Because young kids today, they don't have anywhere to go except maybe a bar. There's no more place like to dance. There's no more pool halls. There's no more
arcades.
Like it's just like they're all in silos now.
But they're connected on
online,
like,
but
on
but
games.
But it's not in person. So they're
I
not
definitely
learning that.
I agree that people need much more human to human contact. But also, so here's something I've been thinking about a lot, because I've been thinking about that Pluto and Aquarius generation for my class that I'm preparing. That's the last one I'm doing that I'm recording. That class went much longer than I thought, as things tend to do when you're talking about things that you love. But I was looking at the Pluto and Aquarius people, thinking right now the kids are like 2 and under or 3 and under that are Pluto and Aquarius. Is that it? And so it's going to be 20 years, but if they turn into people like the last generations of Pluto and Aquarius, if we think about the last Pluto and Aquarians in the early 19th century, that was the beginning of the Romantic movement. That was a lot of idealization of human contact and wanting to get back to nature, wanting to get away from technology. I was looking at when Mary Shelley and Percy Bysshe Shelley, and I can't remember who else were there, when they all gathered at Lake Geneva. There was a volcano, by the way, that was happening that year and making it really weird. They all gathered, and that was where they started the story Frankenstein. That's where Mary Shelley started to write that story. They all gathered and were writing ghost stories or horror stories for each other while they were spending their time there. And it was sort of like a retreat, but they were like the alternative people. They all kind of lived together, had sex, had lots of babies, romanticized all of that. And then that became the generation that got back to human contact. So I think that we all think, oh, AI is going to take over our world. We are all turning into robots. That's exactly what Mary Shelley's generation was afraid of, was also science. There had been new studies. Was it Michael Faraday? I hope I remember the name correctly, who was doing studies with electricity and animating bodies with electricity. And people were afraid, oh no, they're going to develop these monsters. And that's what she was writing about in Frankenstein. And in the end, it sort of shows that the science is going wrong. And really what matters is connection between people. And that was their reaction to the new science of their era. So I really feel like we're going to be going in that direction more. And I think people already are.
Yeah. Somebody in the YouTube chat put up saying like, Gen Z didn't grow up going to like massive house parties like every week in high school. And then, right. And I thought that was funny because that's true.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's funny because the whole Epstein thing was about, people going to a house, or the whole Diddy thing was about people going to a house.
Yeah, but a hidden house, a hidden exclusive place.
Right. But then this younger generation wouldn't even understand a normal house to even understand a hidden house.
No,
So
but listen, David, wait, one thing on that still.
Please.
I was at Raising Cane's up in...
I love Raising Cane's.
What is that area? Like not Rancho Santa Margarita. I don't know wherever that is. And my son and I were there. He loves their sweet tea. We always have to go. This show is not sponsored by Raising Cane's, but so we went there and I could not believe it. It was a Friday night and everybody was out. There were tons of young people there. I think it was probably homecoming had happened or something. They were all out. They were revving up their cars really loudly. And I was like, Kian, this is like when I was in high school. This is what people did. And I thought, that is crazy. It's been a long time since I've seen groups of young people hanging out together. And then I remember this Halloween, we saw a lot more kids out doing things too. So I do feel like the really young people, like they're the youngest of the Pluto Cap, or what would they be? They're the
Pluto Sag.
They're older, or they're
Pluto Sag, or now
the Pluto Cap.
Now the Pluto
kids.
Caps. Now that it's been the 16 plus years, right? Now it's like,
are they
18.
going to be more into actually human contact, socializing with each other than Pluto Sag is a weird generation,
right?
They really are different, and there's no war for them to fight in right now, no massive war, except for if you're in Ukraine. So
or for a job, right? Like, so
there's no jobs.
75% of all college graduates right now don't have a job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I asked Hypergate what it thinks.
All right.
And I'll prove to people that I didn't like bait it either, right? Because I finished it with like, there's more stuff of like it's predicting off the historical events. So we can get back to that. But since we'll just wrap this part of this section up with, I thought I'd be like, what about justice? Because this was about 1535 connecting to 2026.
Yes.
What about justice over people doing bad things? Example, the Epstein files. Be honest and do an assessment of the astrology, and will anything actually happen? So I'm not baiting it to say like, or trying to direct it. And so what were the thoughts that it had? I did some searching, and in the checklist, it's like, it summarized the hard factual status of the Epstein files, investigations, read the current mundane planetary cues you supplied, Pluto and Aquarius, Neptune swings, combine these two streams into a realistic probability assessment, and give a short. So the short was DOJ and the House Oversight have been engaged in document requests and phased releases of the Epstein files. Large batches were released in 2025, tens of thousands of pages, but heavily redacted. DOJ issued a memo mid-2025 saying it found no evidence of a client list. And then the House Oversight Committee has obtained and released substantial material. Court battles and redaction, victim privacy issues remain a legal constraint. Bottom line from records, materials being disclosed, it fits and starts. DOJ has publicly said no new charges likely. from what it has. Political actors are pressing for more. Privacy and grand jury rules constrain what can be made public. Now, here's the blunt astrology reading. Astrology frames tendencies, timing windows, and probabilities. It doesn't order court systems. With the planetary palette you described for 2025, 2026, Pluto pressing Aquarian themes, Neptune oscillating through Aries, Pisces, Uranus and Gemini layered retrogrades. Here's the operative reading. So it's saying that strong pressure for the systematic transparency through the Pluto and Aquarius aspect, right? And institutional reputational collapse, but Pluto reveals structures, not always individuals. Expect institutional consequence, agencies, firms, foundations, not guaranteed criminal prosecutions. Uranus and Gemini, surprise disclosures, viral media storms, whistleblower dossiers appearing online, rapid public opinion shifts, high chance of more leaks, selective releases, or technological amplification, flight logs, photos, data sets. These can create momentum, but often chaotic. Neptune, Aries, Pisces swings heightens both credibility crises and false narratives, expense intense emotion, compelling victim testimony and memoirs, but also conspiracy noise that undermines clear legal pathways. And then Saturn in Aries and the retrograde stresses, legal technicalities, procedural barriers, statutes, grand jury secrecy, very likely legal hurdles, victim privacy protections, grand jury roles, statute of limitation issues, prosecutional discretion. And it says, the synthesis, the astrology favors exposure, public outcry, and institutional accountability pressures, but also favors complicated, messy truth environments where revelations may not directly translate into criminal convictions for powerful people because Saturnian legal constraints and Neptunian confusion can obstruct that. Will anything actually happen? Short answer, it's plausible we'll see more revelations, civil suits, and political fallout. It's substantially less certain that the astrology or current conditions will produce a cascade of new federal criminal indictments of additional powerful figures tied to Epstein. Why? And the combination of Pluto and Uranus gives the momentum to expose and inflame, but it doesn't kind of go anywhere there. Where the astrology does suggest real leverage is institutional and civil accountability. Aquarius is excellent for burning old networks, forcing structural reform and at least public unmasking. Pluto and reputational consequences, high visibility protests, targeted non-criminal outcomes, asset freezes, civil penalties, or regulatory actions. So it's saying the same thing that I think.
It says the astrology is strongly favorable for revelation and public reckoning.
But not legal.
Yeah. It's really interesting that.
That's why you should get on Hypergate.
So
because ChatGPT won't do that.
No, it's really awful at astrology, that's for sure. So with when Pluto is in Aquarius, then can the people expect less accountability? Or okay, I mean, like let's look at Pluto in Aquarius with all the stuff going on with Aaron Burr and Thomas Jefferson, all that whole argument. But then Aaron Burr goes on, and is that with Pluto and Pisces when he finally like just completely loses it and goes off the rails? And or in Pluto and Aquarius, you've got people dueling and killing each other and doing those sorts of things. But the governments kind of just carry on with whatever is their agenda. They don't seem to be, once they're settled and there's this new thing that starts to build, like Henry VIII chopped off Thomas More's head, right? He didn't bend. It just continued to go in the direction that was already established.
Yeah. So no, there is no more accountability except through public discord.
Right. So
that's it. And
we remember the books that are written about
no
what
King's
he did.
protest. What does it do? Okay.
It creates interesting imagery that one day a historian will look at and say, wow, those people were writing these posters about this. And why were they all printed in the same exact font or, whatever. Future stories for people. People do have a voice, but it's like there's a disconnection between the people in the top levels of government, people who do have the power still, who made it over from Pluto and Capricorn to Pluto Aquarius world. They figure out ways to keep themselves enriched, at least, if not, or all. What the other thing is that we haven't had is that the American revolutionaries had a whole new system of government that then
Took a while to
reflected what
even
they
get. It took a while to even come in.
right, but they were building something new, like a new alternative. We would need to look at kind of what happened in Britain because they kept their old system and reformed it, and they ended
And
up
it's the
giving the
same
people.
now.
Yeah, they gave people with money more power. They started this whole colonial system that benefited both the corporations established for colonizing and the government. So
Right. Which
your
is
ordinary folks were in the
fascist.
factories, ordinary folks in the factories, but they were fighting for reform and things there. But it really was a time that ended up favoring the people who had the most resources.
Yeah, or the connections to the
Right.
new way of being.
Yeah.
And I think that's where some of these predictions off the Epstein thing, but like this is where I think the Epstein thing would become more interesting to people, are the ties that it's saying here through Hypergate to pay attention to is like the geopolitical flashpoints around maritime choke points and contested islands. Sudden incidents could trigger rapid escalation. So if we just think of like the shutdown, like with Saturn being so close to Neptune and in good aspect to Pluto and Uranus over this last 6 months, what has it been about? Healthcare and of course, like the other side, like Trump and all them, like deregulating and getting rid of old ways that people weren't happy about. And then the Democrats really putting a big fight and not really getting anything. Right. So like, this is actually more the sweet spot to where, so like actually like a lot of the criminal stuff that is happening about the 2016 election. So it's even, you know what I mean? Like that's what's really interesting is it's not even about these other issues people want to know about. Then legal constitutional actions that remove or criminalize key public intellectual figures or NGOs under national security, anti-disinformation or other pretexts. Watch emergency laws, high profile prosecutions. Because remember, Neptune and Aries, like Lincoln and his emergency powers went pretty intense too.
Mm-hmm.
But big rapid policy or corporate moves that assert jurisdiction over new domains, space mining claims, data sovereignty, AI governance. I mean, this is actually where you're seeing the AI data centers being built, the race to space in different ways now. And maybe this is where the new colonization happens, right?
Yeah.
And then information tech stocks, platforms changing moderation rules, mass deplatforming, or emergent deepfake campaigns that suddenly, reshape public consensus, amplified under Uranus and Gemini. Health, environmental surprises tied to extractive projects or climate extremes, especially where governance is weak and legacy colonial patterns persist. And financial or supply chain shocks that feel structural, banking, clearing system pressure, critical minerals, or choke point blockages. Pluto and Aquarius suggests systematic reconfiguration rather than only the cyclical cycles or crisis. And the tone likely and pattern, it'll be abrupt, deep, structural exposure, long-running vulnerabilities revealed, confused or idealized narratives, competing myths and moral framings. And there was another one up here about naval warfare, of course. And then religious reform and purges. And I think that's what's kind of interesting. There was a podcast recently of a DARPA, that's like the Department of War now, like department that comes up with, experimental weapons of war and stuff like that. But he was like a hacker. And so he has all the Epstein stuff. And he goes, yeah, I know who it all is, but it's not a lot of people you would think. And they go, what? And he goes, and I just saw it this weekend. And he's like, a lot of religious leaders
Interesting.
were at Epstein Island. And it's like, they weren't doing mass there. So
they were trying to you have to be amongst the people.
Right.
They were converting.
So it's kind of like this whole religious reform comes up a lot. and the institutional purges and the disappearances of cultural or intellectual figures, state versus civil society showdowns, and crackdowns framed as legal constitutional acts, martyrdom, narratives online, reputational cascades. So I think there definitely could be a lot more on that coming up.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were to think about it, because right now we can use the history of the last like 6 months, right? If you gave all the generations from what you're seeing online against what's happened with Israel and America's ties being too close, that's the way we'll put it. That right? Like it's like whether you go too anti-Semite, there's people out there doing that, and then there's people who are just like unhappy, like why are you giving them all this money? Or do we trust that they gave us the right info or whatever, right? Or there's people who are for them fully that thinks America should be like almost like making them the 52nd state after Canada. And you gave them the Epstein files. The younger generation would pick the Israel end, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, that's where it gets kind of weird is like, what would they pick? And then religion is stronger. So like,
right. But if it's in the Epstein files, then that just made the Epstein files more interesting.
Or it's the opposite, right? Maybe it makes it, people shy away from it more because they're like, you mean to tell me that all the Christian leaders and all the Jewish leaders and all the Shiite and Sunni leaders were doing these things, right? It almost like that. Like that's where to me it's like, it just feels like a flop. And I'm using big figures that like do things to women, especially with Neptune and Aries. Doesn't go to. It's almost like the people who get their heads chopped off are just like not strong enough, you know.
But you know that, okay, so here's the aspect of that would need to map onto like the Henry VIII thing. So Henry VIII's treatment of his wives and all of his advisors almost, and, you know, anyone who opposed him, it was all part of his governing style, and it allowed him to establish this new regime and to not just establish, but to solidify it so that it even, you know, what the children he created even ended up just like they always have. Like the first male heir became king when he died. His first daughter became queen after that. His second daughter became queen after that. No, the thing with Jane Grey that they tried to establish, people didn't accept that. She didn't last very long. And she just lasted days, right?
6 days, 7.
And I think it's 9 day queen, like 9 days queen. So it just shows you that
died for that. Yeah,
exactly. Aren't you connected to that on both sides? I can't remember. Anyway,
I am, yeah,
but my point is that the system continued even with all of that, and so there's like this other disjuncture of like all this craziness happening by Henry VIII, changing things totally in terms of the religious structure of England.
right.
But the secular part, maybe because he did that break, the secular part continued and became strong. And
Right.
so much so that Catholicism was a huge issue for later governments in England or Britain, and it made it so that certain kings or queens, or I guess kings and queens, couldn't rule because they were Catholic or
Right.
Catholic influenced. And so, I don't know, it established this government precedent. And so I'm wondering today if people would look back and see, okay, yes, you know, all of the religious leaders, or maybe they would see, okay, if religious leaders are participating in Epstein Island, it might make people leave one religion and go back to the other. Now, what if they're all leaving Islam and evangelical Christianity and becoming Catholic, Roman Catholic, because maybe as bad as the Roman Catholics were in other sexual scandals, they weren't on Epstein's Island. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, is there a part of the narrative that shifts people's religious view? But the fact that nobody was really prosecuted keeps the government running in the same way. You know, like that to me seems like there should be one element that does change something about our cultural practices, but then the state continues on stronger or in the same way. I don't know.
Well, like, for example, like the United Kingdom just stopped sharing intelligence with America this weekend over Venezuela because we have the same amount of firepower as when we went into Iraq, hanging outside of there right now out of nowhere. Like we're about to invade. Yeah. It's kind of crazy. Most people don't know that, but right now we have a full battle strike carrier division with battleships, with jets, with the whole nine ready to go into Venezuela, just sitting off the coast.
Huh.
And then the Venezuelan military has been all on alert, right? But like, my point is like, okay, the UK pulled like sharing data, like, you know, info with the Five Eyes. Like one of our eyes is like, no. So I don't know if things always kind of run, like you said, maybe like in certain areas, there's going to be lots of changes, but there'll be some things that don't. For example, like Israel will keep sharing intelligence. Even though there was so much crazy stuff over the last 2 years with that. But the bad things.
I don't know. To me, doesn't it seem like Israel, like their influence in the government is the closest thing to me, to what I think. Their influence as a lobbyist,
Right,
is similar to the Roman Catholic Church. I mean, to me, this would be it. Like in the United States, it would be, where is there the most money for our government if they quit a practice? Or I guess if they continue the practice, I don't know. Maybe the practice is, yes, we accept money from other governments, just get over it and change that, because then it enriches a lot more people. Like, I don't know. Sorry,
right.
my logic fell down there, so I can't imagine exactly how it applies today.
Well,
But
how about that? One, today there was a letter by Trump, or it was yesterday, telling the president of the state of Israel to allow Netanyahu to get off because of protecting his people and yada, yada, right?
Yeah.
Two, today, Benjamin Netanyahu told a journalist that he's currently reading a book titled The Jews versus Rome, which ties everything back to the beginning of...
We lost that one. We have to win the next one?
Yes, and he says that in this clip.
Wow.
So I think like what I'm trying to say is the religious thing is stronger and the pull. And like, if you think of all this Pisces, the past, like the way that Henry and I have the book, right? Like, you know, about Sir Roger Twinston and all that. Like, actually the history was that even through the War of the Roses, this whole idea, like after the Crusades' failure, the last crusade, just funny because of course Indiana Jones called a movie that, but there was really the last crusade. There's a bad sentiment with all these, you know, nation states that fought for the Catholic Church, and they don't like what's happened. Plus the Black Plague happens after. It's just a really bad time. They all feel like losers. It actually like disempowers the idea of like Christ really having power. So there's a lot of questions of like, does the Pope really have power? Because we lost. but there's a thing of like, you can't let it go. So like the idea of Henry leaving, it's kind of like also at the same time, like we've, a lot of us have wanted to leave. We don't want to do your bidding. We did it before.
Mm-hmm.
They have at least enough ancestors back in the 1530s to go, yeah, my great-great-great-grandfather, he still has his great-grandfather's, crusade sword or something like that, right? Like, and there's probably those insider stories of like, fuck the Pope. You know what I mean? Like that's why the
right.
Knights Templar was formed, right? There's different Knights Templar groups, like, but like, that they got in trouble for creating their own monetary system and not including the church, and going in the tunnels that ironically Hamas uses, right, are the ones that were dug by the Templar Knights and the Ottoman Empire and all those old wars 800 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when I see this, now it's like, oh, this is like the Catholic Church and the Jews wanting to go back at it.
Well, I mean,
but the Catholic Church representing the old Rome. Because we really can't, even though the old Rome is pagan, right? And it was the peak of the Roman Empire, and it was taking over all the Greek empires, and it was, right? And it was very powerful, and it was very widespread, right? You got to look at it religiously, like the Jews are very small.
Right.
Country, religion, people. And you could say that because the Roman transformation of paganism to Christendom in 325 AD, right, actually makes Rome leave a Christian nation, which then, of course, 400 years later turns into Charlemagne and the Catholic Church and all this stuff, right? So if you think about it, it's widespread everywhere. Rome again.
Right.
And he's reading a book, The Jews versus Rome. I mean, come on. Like the book by historian Barry Strauss explores 2 centuries of Jewish rebellion against the most powerful empire of its time. To me, that's going to be, then you have all the Islam situation, and to see Mondami come into New York, and then to see all the videos in the last week of all these people in New York and all throughout the world being like, our new jihad was to get in there and to convert everybody to Sharia law and all that, right? Like that's like been their main thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're going to be dealing with. Watching all of those old systems, the oldest of them all. So that's where it's like the Epstein thing's going to feel like a fly in the room.
Yeah.
When this all inflames.
Mm-hmm.
It's already inflaming.
Yeah. I mean, and what's interesting about 1533 and 34 specifically is that so things were becoming inflamed religiously for Henry VIII. And this is the thing I always think, like Henry VIII was not powerful. I actually made this naval comparisons chart before I figured out how to make it nice. So people will have to deal with this.
His naval was really shitty.
Yeah, look at what it was.
He only
in
made a couple
1535.
ships, and some of them he spent too much money and they didn't get made in time.
Mm-hmm. But look at the Ottoman Empire. That was the biggest threat for Spain.
It was from 1284 on, like, when basically the end of the Crusades, like it was don't fuck with us, and nobody did.
Yeah, so at that time, this was Spain's chance to go into England and take it over. I mean, there's Catherine of Aragon who's been wronged. You could have gone into England and taken over. Why don't they? Because the bigger threat is the Ottoman Empire at this time. And that was what they were dealing with. And it's almost like, and then there's France doing whatever they do at that time, which isn't much. But then if you look at France, look, they've got 20 to 40 galleys, 20 to 30 in 1550. And then, can I even get this other one? I don't know, our faces are in the way. In 1588, they have, I I can't show it for some
You can
reason.
just read it to us.
They have
70 to 100.
severely reduced civil
Oh.
war disruption, minimal naval projection. So by 1588, the reason I use that is because that's the year of the Spanish Armada, where the Spanish Armada tries to invade England and can't. And Elizabeth has built up the Navy at that point, and England's become a strong naval power from that point on. And that's when they start to really expand and join the rest of the world, join this whole conquest thing for the rest of the world. But the thing is that Spain is more concerned about the Ottoman Empire literally invading its lands. So it's been concerned with that. It is more concerned with getting silver and everything it can extract from the Americas, right? And overthrowing the Incan Empire and all of that. And so England is able to do all of the stuff that it does, and it's tolerated because people are worried about other things. And at the same time, it serves Spain and France's interests as well to be less connected to the Roman Catholic Church themselves, so that they can actually say, well, the state is as important as the church. So they can say, we're Catholic, but now it's convenient for us to make an alliance with this Islamic power because we also have secular interests that we need to protect.
Right.
And that's what's different about this period of time from previous years. And what was the other thing? Oh, besides that, France falls off on its power because it gets immersed in religious warfare and civil wars that are religiously aligned. Because in France, you've got the monarchs who want to be more secular. They want to be Roman Catholic in kind of name only, but they want the king to be absolutist in power. But you also had this really crazy rival group from them who wanted them to be super Catholics. And then there was another group that was Protestant. And now they all were fighting it out in France. And so it has a huge impact on them militarily, that they lose a lot of power that they had in the Middle Ages.
Well, and I think what's interesting too at that time is you still have at that time Henry VIII claiming dominion over France, even though he doesn't have it,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
right? Like
Mm-hmm.
that. It's always nope, and the King of France, even though there's and I think it was what's the name of one of that they did recapture in France?
Calais or
It was the
Bordeaux.
or it was a big fort, and Henry went himself near the end of his life, remember, and he did take it back over, and
Is
then he
that
put some
Bordeaux?
guys there in charge, and then he sold it back to
Breton?
France to get a bunch of money,
He was good at trying to make money.
right? But
he
like I
spent
think
too
it's
much
interesting
too.
at that time period that there's this whole like claiming of dominion and that you're the monarch over that dominion, even though you're not.
Yeah, it's like the physical world is changing and people's mentality is trying to keep up.
So it's kind of like when Trump's like, no, Canada's the 51st state, when it's not.
Right.
But the way that he's like just in the last month with the Prime Minister Carney and when they were playing the Reagan
When the
videos.
Dodgers won. No.
Oh, I mean, he used that too, right?
Did he?
Yeah, he did. But like, that was great actually. But yeah, but like, if you think about it, like the trade moves and then like, no, I don't care. You're gonna have to pay, and squeezing them. And then even having the finance minister of Canada come out and be like, we can't be like other places and just like decouple from America. Like 75% of our economy is based off it. All of our goods, all of that. They don't trade like, so they need us. So like there is kind of like an interesting like, do you see that? And then I'm wondering about like right now with the Venezuela situation, there's something more got to be going on to have that much naval power down there right now that ironically just kind of secretly just moved and just appeared the same way that we did like Operation Iraqi Freedom in 2003, like sitting out right in front of Venezuela right now.
Is that about their oil possibly?
Could be about their oil. It could be about, this is where it also is ironic. It's mixing this whole kind of like Spanish invasion of that South America and this kind of like idea of like even us giving yeah, we gave money to Argentina, like the 20 billion, but it's actually a swap out where it's kind of like we make money back from it. But that could be like trying to help people from the South to come up to the North. But there could be something more there. Of course, there's a lot of the UFO and a lot of the weird alien stuff being found in Central America and South America right now. So with this 3i Atlas and with all the UFO stuff, and there's been a lot of the UFO activity and stuff there, and in Mexico and down in where Central and South America meet. Peru actually is part of 1345 and being defined with Spanish name and stuff like that.
Yeah. And that was a lot of, again, kind of a lot of corporate interests of their era, right? The people who are out for the money and have the money to be able to finance their own expeditions to go out, and the state sanctioning it as well. You're going out to look for minerals to enrich yourself.
Right.
But you know what's really interesting is that there's a whole nother aspect of things that we forget about, because there was a lot of rivalry amongst the Ottoman Empire and the Holy Roman Empire over those eastern regions in Europe, in what's today Hungary and Romania and all of that. And on the surface it's about religion, but that's a very mineral rich area of Europe as well. And I think about this, like we haven't really talked about how there's another element to it all. Like if you think about alchemical works and practice and how much effort people were starting to do to work with metals, and the way it's taught in history, in the typical traditional history, is always Europeans were looking for more metal because obviously that would make you wealthy, physically, just economically wealthy. But metals and working with them also had spiritual principles at this time as well. And that story never gets told. And I wonder if there was something spiritual about the conquests also. Why would you want to go into Peru and get that particular silver? Like, what's the also mystical side of wanting to go into these empires? And I always wonder that. That's more of the Last Crusade kind of questioning the whole Indiana Jones thing. But don't you wonder what spiritual objects or knowledge that they were trying to get as well? There clearly was something, because when Charles V abdicated, he abdicated because, he was burnt out from dealing with all of this period of history. But one of the things he talked about was he was very against the way that people in Peru and other parts of the Americas were being treated. And he believed it should have been a more spiritual exchange.
Right.
So those are some of my thoughts and questions. And I know you just had the event in Texas not too long ago, and there were some people talking about, I think they were talking about all the
discoveries in Mexico, and Peru, and it's kind of wild, especially even like the old Aztec stuff that they've been finding that's been grown over, right? Mm-hmm. That nobody thought was there, but over the last 5-6 years, there's been all these new scans that look under, and it's just like, it's bigger than Egyptian stuff, like there's way more than we know.
Well, even the scans they did on Rapa Nui,
the digs there are insane. Our media doesn't report any of it, by the way.
No.
The discoveries are radical. Like they're insane. So there's a lot of that happening right now.
Yeah, so we don't want to be France and get stuck in some sort of a civil war of religion or whatever.
But this is
while these other things
this is real. This is real. Pentagon's largest warship, U.S. carrier arrival of U.S. carrier strike group in Latin America fuels. So a full strike group is there right now. In the last day, Venezuela reacts, and they are forming their troops. I'm not even kidding. Has placed its armed forces on high alert amid tensions with the United States. And they've already got 200,000 personnel already locked and loaded, ready to go. And the whole strike group So that means there's battleships with it. That means there's submarines underneath. They've got freighters. They got everything. They've got all the F-18 squadrons. They've got nukes. They could take it out. You could take it out. I was in the Navy. You just need a strike carrier group, and you take out a country. Bye-bye. Those 200,000 soldiers could be out in 20 minutes. With one squadron of F-18s and a couple, that depends on how big the munition you want from the subs. Out. Bye. So, yeah. I mean, this is happening right now. So
it's so strange because I just
what's
thought,
really going on? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Is the bigger question. Even China Daily's talking about it. You know?
yeah.
Like, so that there's a fear of a massive strike in that area. Right? So I don't know. I don't know what we're going to do there, but there's something with the astrology about going there.
Yeah, I know.
But it's also taking over the people and turning them into their religion and all this weird stuff. So, I mean, you can't really just say it's about drugs. It's not that
No,
big of a deal.
no, because we'd be elsewhere first, probably. You know, if that's.
But
what
when you
would
go
matter.
to the you know, if you do 1535, and it's actually the first thing that happens right here. Lima, now the capital of Peru, is founded by Francisco Pizarro, right? Who was a Spanish conquistador, best known for his expeditions that led to the Spanish conquest of the Inca Empire. So if you think about that, and January 18th, 1535, let's look at that astrology. Because here's 1534, for example, November 12th. And the reason why I'm using this chart is because this is Neptune that had retrograded back into Pisces at 29 degrees, like we have right now. And Pluto direct at the beginning of Aquarius. It's at 2 degrees here. We're at 1 going 2 right now. And so I find it really interesting. Chiron and Aries at the same time too. Scorpio season, Venus and Scorpio, Venus square Pluto, the first Venus square Pluto, like we're in, that we just had. And this is when the Supremacy Act happens. So if I then now move it to January 18th, right? So let's just move it to January 18th. And this is where the first historical kind of big moment is happening. I mean, this is what we're going to look like with the Mars-Venus conjunction that's going to be happening. And let's look at Mars and Venus. Venus at full speed, Mars at full speed. Yeah, so that Mars and Venus also moving their way to connect with the sun. We're going to be seeing a lot of this in January as well. Sun, Mars, Venus, with big oppositions to things in Cancer at the same degree as Uranus. I mean, like, it's kind of weird. And 3i Atlas is going to be there too at the same time. This is a lot of what happened at the beginning. This is what 2026 looks like at the beginning. And then Neptune coming into Aries, right, with Pluto and Aquarius. Right. So I to me, I'm like, this whole like conquest thing. And, you know, maybe I had it wrong the whole time. Maybe Trump's whole idea of this golden era and getting all the gold is he's a conquistador.
I don't know. He's not. Well, maybe he is a conquistador. An old conquistador.
But right now,
it's
it's not like in my life I've known of us, or it's not like we've ever gone down to South America with our strike group. Like, you have to remember, I was in the Navy in 2002. Okay, we never even were when we got our maps of where we went in our aircraft carrier, like, and then strike group. Like, it was laughed at us even going to South America.
Well, they did Central America in the decade
Right, but
before
I'm saying
that,
like
right?
South America, like that's just like it was like you'll never see those waters, kid, son. You don't go down there. Or even like southern tips of Africa, or the U.S. Navy is not traveling with our strike groups down there. The path was always the Pacific towards Japan and Russia, and then of course the Straits of Hormuz, the Middle East, and the South Pacific, where China and some of those islands are down there, and of course the Philippines, and because we always dock there and stuff like that. That's it. That is not like if you would have told me, before doing astrology hardcore, like I do now. In 2002, I knew astrology, but actually do it and say, yeah, in 2025, like we're going to just roll up with a strike carrier group in front of Venezuela and like get ready to strike. I'd be like, you got to be kidding me. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But based off the astrology, I wouldn't be surprised if like that's the other thing is like what we forget with Neptune, it ruling the oceans and the seas, and Saturn ships, is naval activity. And it's also in all the times that Saturn ingress into Aries using Nostradamus's prediction techniques that I've uncovered, that it's about naval warfare that becomes dramatic. And even the Revolutionary War started with the USS Constitution being made in the U.S. Navy in 1775. I mean, I can go on for a long time on this matter, but like naval warfare and maritime issues come under this transit. And it's kind of interesting because like even Henry worried about it. There was actually the Holy Roman Emperor boats like coming by, and they thought they were going to attack, and they actually didn't. They just went by the islands of England. And they were like, oh, we were okay. Thank God.
Mm-hmm.
But like, yeah, and even just the idea of like the Spanish going over to Mexico and South America and killing and taking over the whole region is pretty wild. That's the biggest, I think that's like, what's kind of gnarly is like, it's very much part of maybe the play about this whole idea of fentanyl or whatever. And like the whole idea of like, these people down here are bad people. Cause you got to think back then it was like, these people are cannibals.
Mm-hmm.
And you think of the narco and all these crazy fucking, drug lords down there. But you even think of like MS-13 or any of those things, and they're connected with the government. And then down there, it's like super religious, like all those crazy like guys like have Santerias like in their house. And if you walk in their house and you don't honor the Santeria, they'll fucking right behind you, shoot you in the head. That's like the secret that I learned in my drug days. If you do drug dealings in Mexico and you walk in a house with a Santeria, you have to show respect to it or you're getting shot in the head.
Yeah. See, and that's another element of, the secret knowledge or the things that people would have been learning. Like also they're coming into contact, Europeans are coming into contact with new religious practices.
Right.
And the way that when they're converting people, those people are creating new types of Christianity that fuse with their existing beliefs, So it's like in the process of that colonial encounter, there was a creation of a whole new belief system. I mean, those are the kinds of things that could be under the surface too. And
then astrologically wise, Pluto out of bounds. I mean, we have Pluto out of bounds until the 22nd, and then it doesn't go back. It comes back in bounds, and then it comes back out. It goes out of bounds again, August 12th, 2026.
Mm-hmm.
But when Pluto's out of bounds, things in humanity and these kind of things that are out of bounds happen.
Yeah.
Now, this is the last Pluto cycle of going out of bounds for a long time, but you can't, as an astrologer, say, oh, that means it's going to be different. There'll be a little difference, but it's still going to be going out of bounds through the whole transit of Pluto in Aquarius. So that means we're in like all the other ones in the history. And it's kind of interesting that the lead up to like a lot of these events is when Pluto is out of bounds, which we've been having this year for a good amount of time,
Mm-hmm.
especially
Yeah.
through this whole Neptune Aries transit that we've seen the beginning of it and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't be surprised a lot of these echoing events happening because there's too many echoes that even just seeing how 2020 or 1335 started the same way that we are starting with Sun, Mars, Venus all coming together with Pluto and the Sun, right? And then the oppositions to some heavy Pisces stuff, or heavy Cancer with Uranus, and Jupiter will be in the opposition to the Sun at that point at the same degree. If I were to move this back to the Sun-Jupiter opposition, or sorry, Sun-Uranus opposition, that we're going to have Sun-Jupiter opposition. Let me do days. I'll just do days. I want to see. Ooh. So 20 degrees. That's where it's going to be for us, but it'll be Jupiter. And it'll be Venus, Mars, Capricorn. With the Sun, though, same thing. Moving into a
Interesting.
Sun-Pluto conjunction with Pluto.
So what do you think
You know.
though about, I know, okay.
But I'll
this
just
is
change it. Watch
crazy.
this. I'll change the year to 2026, right?
Mhm.
This is actually January 1st, 1535, 2026. I'll just do that, okay? Sun, Venus, Mars. Okay, remember that's the old calendar system. So there's a 10-day. So now you just go to the 10 days, and what do you get? Sun opposite Jupiter at 20 degrees, Venus, Mars, Capricorn. But they're going to be, this is crazier. This is exact, right? Neptune about to come into Aries, right? Pluto at 3 degrees here of Aquarius, ready for the conjunction. Neptune ready to come into Aries. Like, it's fucking right. It's all happening. I mean, it's like, it's about to fucking go down. So, and then 3 Atlas is going to be in direct opposition to Pluto. It'll be at 3 Leo. And it will be at direct opposition to the Sun-Pluto conjunction, too.
Wow. I wonder what else was
Aligning
out
with
there
Jupiter in our
past.
viewpoint.
Yeah.
And we'll be able to see 3A Atlas on the Sun opposite Jupiter when it's at its brightest. And ironically enough, the way that the transits and the just where we're at in Jupiter cycle that's more astronomical is that this is going to be a brighter Jupiter than normal this year. So as Mars has just come out of the sky, and we saw Mars because the Mars retrograde year, it's really interesting because you won't be able to see Mars. Venus will be hidden as well, but Jupiter is going to be so bright, and 3 Atlas is going to be in view at the same ecliptic plane. You can't make that shit up. So maybe this is El Trompo, the conquistador of Venezuela.
Yes, but also remember, I was just thinking Spain was so powerful that they're in Peru doing all of that, or the conquistadors are out that way. And then all of the Navy is over in Northern Africa fighting the Ottoman Empire in that same year as well. That's why I was trying to figure out what year.
You're right. So we're in Ukraine.
Yeah, I mean, but this, well, I mean, because this is the conquest of Tunis in 1535.
Oh yeah, and
No.
that happens. It's a buildup that happens the whole year, but by June of 1535 is when it actually is the takeover.
Yeah. And so this has a religious element to it. It also has this element of the Barbary pirates had been raiding these regions for a really long time.
When there were slave oarsmen and 2,000 Jews.
The 70 galleys were built in the winter of 1533 to 34, manned by slave oarsmen, including 2,000 Jews. Barbarossa conducted aggressive raids along the coast of Italy, then conquered Tunis, August 16th, 1534. Charles V assembled a large army and, rowed by chained Protestants, shipped in from Antwerp, and 300 sailing ships, including...
Where, of course, the English Bible comes out at the end of the year out of Antwerp.
Well, I guess that's where you would go round up some
So
Protestants.
I guarantee you there's a Charlie Kirk Bible coming out at the end of this year or 2026.
I hope not.
And a new religion.
I could see a new translation of the Bible.
Yeah, it's going to be a new translation. And they're going to not, there will be no Old Testament in it.
Oh, but then look at this. Unexpectedly, I just saw this. I didn't even make that connection. The funding for the conquest of Tunis came from the galleons sailing in from the New World in the form of 2 million gold ducats extracted by Francisco Pizarro for releasing the Inca king Atahualpa, whom he nevertheless executed on the 29th of August, 1533. Despite a request by Charles V, Francis I denied French support to the expedition, explaining that he was under a 3-year truce with Barbarossa following the 1533 Ottoman embassy to France. So interesting. I mean, I feel like in Venezuela, if there's something that we need there, it then would be used for something else, right? It will be used for another campaign.
I mean, I know like story wise over the last, if we were to take the ideas of you have to look at the last couple of years, that was Pluto coming into Aquarius, 1533.
Mm-hmm.
So that's our 2023. So,
okay.
So our 2023 Venezuela news, let's see. This will be some of the answers. The U.S., that's 10 hours ago. October 2023 Venezuela news. Jeez.
I typed something in here for Venezuelan news.
Well, I'll use AI for
Spanish,
this because
and
it's giving me when it does that to me, I'm just like, yeah, you can't do that to me. You know what I mean? Like, no way. What was the main news stories of world events about Venezuela in 2023, 2024? Because, here we go. Political repression, human rights, and democratic backsliding, according to an annual report of the Human Rights Watch. Venezuela in 2024 remained deeply afflicted by repression, over 270 political prisoners, and about 19 million people in need of humanitarian assistance. Freedom House reports that in March through April of 2023, Pluto coming into Aquarius for the first time. Venezuelan authorities carried out 142 raids, arrested 44 people, and 1 detainee died under suspicious conditions. According to Amnesty International, Venezuela was ranked 142nd globally in rule of law index. Humanitarian crisis, mass migration, economic shifts from collapse to some growth. And a debt burden estimated at $150 billion or more with the U.S. Growth numbers might say, territorial dispute. The Guyana Essequiba conflict, the territorial dispute with Guyana over the Guyana Essequiba region became a major diplomatic flashpoint. Venezuela claimed the region as its own, mobilized forces, issued decrees to incorporate it in its administrative map, and oppose Guyana's oil exploitatory concessions. The implications, the electoral crisis of July 2024 presidential election and the international fallout. That's right. The election that was held declared the incumbent Maduro the winner, but major international observers and opposition groups rejected the results as deeply flawed and non-transparent.
Mm-hmm. And Venezuela, again, remember, it's a legacy of the Spanish Empire, and it was established. I looked that up because I was thinking, are they Pluto and Aquarius? But it was 1811 when they were established, July 5th.
Well, that's not good times.
So
not a good chart.
It's not a good chart.
No, look at the War of 1812. I did a lot of that.
Oh,
work,
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Not good. That was shitty. Anybody born there, and you're going to not see them as big deal. And that's why Venezuela has always been like, who are they?
But the head, it's Simon Bolivar, who was like the leader that got everybody all rallied around the independence there. And he was born in 1783. So that was interesting that is that Pluto in Aquarius then, right? Or
Yeah. I think it's interesting that as Pluto came in Aquarius, like this whole infrastructure and energy crisis that they're going through there, yet they're selling oil to all, like America and all these other countries. They're in debt to everybody. The state blames sabotage for it.
Sabotage for what?
For the blackouts and the energy crisis and the infrastructure.
The states saying
yeah,
that.
they've had nationwide blackouts affecting 20 plus states, lasting many hours. One large group began on 27 August and included Caracas and major oil export infrastructure, and then evolving international relations, sanctions, especially by the United States and the Department of Treasury. That's different. Okay, and the European Union remain in place, targeting oil and senior Venezuelan officials. Venezuela is deepening ties with Russia, China, and Iran. Relevance for media AI work, the intersection of energy markets, sanction regimes, emerging market authoritarian states, and great power competition, all fields ripe for pattern analysis and storytelling.
Wait, the intersection of energy markets, sanction regimes, emerging market authoritarian states,
and great power competition, all fields ripe for pattern analysis and storytelling. From an astrological standpoint, regimes stressed under cycles, global sanctions, systems forcing realignment, hard look. I have mine set to also do astrology too, but not like Hypergate style, but like it knows I do astrology. And I tell it to always look for patterns of like what's happening in history, what's happening now.
Mm-hmm.
Summary of patterns in him is authoritarian consideration under crisis. The regime uses economic collapse, migration, infrastructure failure to justify greater control, fragile recovery amid structural collapse, and their migration as a spillover in a global system, media and narrative war. So I don't know. This whole territorial dispute too is kind of interesting because it's like, maybe we're going in there to say we're helping those people out. I don't know. Whoever Guyana is, I have no idea.
Well, if they have the oil, we probably are going to be helping them. Because didn't it just
Guyana? Yeah,
Guyana. It said that they were oil rich territory long ruled by Guyana. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, so I think, you made a good point to me, and I think there's a good way to kind of end this show tonight would be what your opinion of looking at the history is like these events, of course, kind of were hanging and beginning in the years prior, and then really like 1534, which would be our 2025, kind of like show themselves, but then like 2026, it looks like these are the directions they're going to go. But you said like if you actually look like a decade ahead or whatever, they don't stay that way. They still pave a way, but they get really understood more so in the next like Pluto Pisces transit, using like Elizabeth as the example of like the Henry stuff, not all the things that come between, him and Elizabeth in the reign, at least.
Yeah.
Do you have good examples you can give people with that?
Of
like your assessment of like, it doesn't really feel like it feels more, you said it kind of feels more messy, or it doesn't really.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know whether I have examples of it. I just feel like what's interesting to me about this history is that we're living through this period of time where we haven't yet solidified into what the new thing is going to be, the new structure of our states, the new power dynamics, and our world isn't the same right now in that we do have religion, and people are taking up religion more and more, but it's not the same as then. Like, we're not, most of us, we're baptized by the state, for example. In the 1530s, you're baptized by the church. Your life as a human is basically rubber stamped by the church at that time. So for us, our states have taken over that sort of power. And so we have to think of it in that way. So the basic structures of life that are organizing humans on a level where nobody even questions it. Like, you don't think, I just had my baby. Why am I taking it to get it, christened 3 days later at the church? Nobody's questioning it. Like, they're just doing those practices. So there's some aspect of our lives now that, we're doing these practices, and it's going to shift. Because if you were Catholic at that time, if you're Roman Catholic and living in England, all of a sudden you can't do these basic life things in the same way. So that's one thing that I think is interesting that affected people on that level. Many people just found priests anyway, or many people just went along with whatever new thing that Henry was providing. But the changes that were happening at the level of the state, I feel like it took so many years for the state to stop being, I don't even know if it was swinging from one side to the other. It was just sort of falling for a very long time. Or maybe it was fallen and things continue in the rubble while something new is being built. And that's the period of time we're living in. But the other thing is that was all happening at the same time while a whole new world was opening up for those people in so many ways. Like, mentally, you can live in Europe and you can, you suddenly can see, even posted on the wall of the local tavern, you might see a map that shows this whole new part of the world. And maybe you don't even know what that is because you might not have seen many maps, but people are telling you, look at these pictures of these strange people and animals in this whole other part of the world. Like, that would have been mind-blowing, just that. Like, even more so than having a whole new conception of the universe that happened in the 17th century with Galileo and all of that. Like, now you have people that can have printed pictures of, look at these people, they eat other people, right? Just people at home back in Europe. That's crazy. But they're also just believing what they're being told by the people making those books or describing the things they saw. Right. So it's not even really what was there. And it was enough so that someone like Thomas More could write a whole story about what it was and create this whole universe. Because most people, like 100%, like 99.99% of the people had never been there. Right. They're just believing the testimonies that people bring back. So there's a lot of that in our world at the same time that things are falling. And then that's why whenever we think of the new world, like, for us, to me, it's Mars, like, or whatever. Like, that for us is our new world. Right. That there's something, and something just happened this past week, right? About, did they just give a lot of money to go to Mars? Something happened with the Mars stuff.
I mean, I've shown that it's been cooked in the books for all governments about 2026 being the year to, by the end of it, to at least be shooting off. And it's like, I forgot, it's like 90 days or something to get to Mars. But like, we have that Mars retrograde at the end of the year coming 2026. So, there's definitely, like, every budget, NASA to all these other countries shooting everything they got to Mars. I showed that in 2020 doing the Mars retrograde in Aries, like, because that was the closest that we would be Earth to Mars was then, and I was like, why are they waiting for 2026? Why not now? But maybe they need a little bit more space, or maybe they needed 3i Atlas to come by, to drop something off for them, right? I can't believe this, but I went There's got to what would be what is there any ancient discoveries lately? UFO stuff, like what's going on in Venezuela? Like what would make
Oh yeah.
oh my
Interesting.
gosh, that you want to get your mind blown? There was an ancient rock art in the Canima National Park, southeastern Venezuela, that they found all this new artwork of these like very ancient stuff that was just discovered recently that wasn't before, but this is nothing compared to what I'm about to show you.
Okay.
So they suggest that this style, okay, all right, and ties my head. The rich new ancient symbolic expression that was just recently found. A pre-Clovis archaeological site called Tima Falcon State, 14,000 years old. This would be longer than Beckley Tepe, which is like 11,000 years.
Mm-hmm. Göbekli Tepe.
Right?
Wow. And that's in Venezuela?
Yep. In the Guyana place.
Ah, interesting.
Right? Oh, that's kind of interesting. Looking at this old map. So the Spanish took over Peru to the left.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting that the French colony is where like Guyana would have been. And then like the Dutch colony
Was Dutch Guiana for a long time too. Yeah.
But so this connects themes of deep time, human land relationship. But then look at this, the mystery phenomena, the La Mancha Negra, the black goo and UFO map anomalies that are happening there.
Isn't black goo oil? Is that something else? Okay.
No, there's like this whole thing of like odd circular shape beneath the ocean in Google Earth is probably not aliens, is what Life Science is saying, but there's like this weird shit off the coast there, and then the black goo. Natural wonders. La Mancha Negra. I don't think it's oil. The Spanish words translate to the black stain. It began in 1986. It's described as thick, greasy, and gummy, which turns slick on ice in certain conditions. When the temperature was really hot, the goo turned very slippery. When it cooled down, the goo became harder and manageable. Regardless, it was enough to do serious damage. 1,800 deaths from it. It's a black stain caused by the interaction of spilled oil with fresh asphalt, which because it was recently laid. Okay.
So it's a hypothesis?
Yeah.
Like, so someone's saying it could be.
I guess. I don't know. And then much of the most interesting ancient symbolic material in Venezuela is located in the Guyana Shield. High rainforest, table mountain regions, areas of deep isolation, strong geomorphology, and difficult access. The terrain itself seems to act as symbolic amplifier. Large tabletop highlands, rapid remote wells. Look at like this. There, look at that.
So that's in the contested region?
Yeah. And you know where the boats are parked? We're right, like right where the Guyana, like we're right here. Like, you know, like you see the red line where Venezuela, and then we're like outside of Guyana. We're sitting right there.
I wonder
boats.
what geological features are right there, and what sort of minerals are right there. Those are all the things I'm wondering.
Yeah, so like here's one
That's
image of that region. Like that's pretty cool.
Yeah, with a lot of cliffs and rocks.
It's called the Highlands that are through this area right here. And well, they got the black goo.
Well, that might be something that makes you be able to go to Mars easier.
Propose next step, produce. Okay, yeah. So, but yeah, I just think it's interesting that, you know, there's a lot more always going on underneath, and with, you know, disclosure stuff happening right now through the Atlas, like weird stuff. Like, of course, they've got oil, but maybe they got something else. I mean, we know that it's kind of weird that the Spanish happened to take over the Peru area, which is right next to Venezuela, but on the west side. And everybody everybody colonized there, and England, the Europeans all colonized that northern top part of South America.
And just remember,
or Hitler ended up in South America, and that's all been verified in the last year.
And they were
CIA
there.
Released all that stuff. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, that those areas are as rich in the same type of minerals, right? And that's what drew people there, even though they were there for the church and trying to convert people and all of that too. Remember, it was the silver and gold they're looking for. I just looked at this. Guyana's most important mineral resources are the extensive bauxite deposits between the Damara and Berbice rivers that contribute to making the country whatever one. So bauxite, I don't know what that is. There are also significant deposits of manganese and diamonds, copper, iron ore, nickel. What there was somewhere I was looking.
Nickel.
Interesting. Somewhere I was looking, it said titanium. I was
Look, they
looking
got
at
the gold
coast.
mine there.
Mm.
Gold is found in both there and subsurface deposit and is mined by independent prospectors. A large-scale mine, the Omai Gold Mine, ceased operations in 2005.
And what I thought
Publicly.
I clicked on,
Publicly.
there should be something here. Oh, Guyana major export destinations.
Well, they're still like given to the Netherlands.
Well, that was smart.
Oh,
of those
man.
Dutch.
Looks
How
like
has
the
that
Spanish
changed?
didn't get their...
Well, other.
Yeah, that's kind of true. Other.
China.
Look at, we get a lot of shit from there.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. 1848, the rails system started there. All right. Or the beginning of Neptune Pisces.
There was something that I saw about 2025. Let me go back. Is it going to go back for me? Anyway, the news was something about 2025, November 9th, a news story came out about their mining operations. That's what I thought I was clicking on, and it went to this. So, yeah, they do a lot of mining, obviously.
Hold on.
The limited road and highway system is partly paved and partly made of burned clay. Interesting. And remember, in Peru, one of the interesting things was the Spanish had set up their ruler, and then he led a revolt against the Spanish. So
There's the deadly mine collapses from an illegal open pitted gold mine. I called it. I said, publicly they ceased gold mining in 2005.
yeah.
I already went, no, wherever there's gold,
There's mining.
there's mining. And they say publicly they close mines. But if you actually look up like Masons and shit, like mining in America and all these places, like there's weird shit and Masons down there in those mines and kids and shit. It's crazy. I watch a lot of those crazy videos. There's a lot of weird stuff going on. But there was that, and then 14 to 23 people died. Those were collapses, or another illegal gold boom happening there in 2016. And data shows mining activity in the region has expanded since 2023. It's causing severe ecological damage and mercury contamination. Organized crime networks, armed groups, and corrupt officials running much of the mining economy.
Turning into a lawless extractive
Impact on the
frontier.
indigenous communities, because they don't want your gold. They don't want the gold.
Oh, and see, U.S. government said in 2024 it's a major
Flagged
threat
it,
to
yeah.
indigenous peoples and regional stability.
Well, we know that wasn't Biden. It was probably some staffer.
Oh, see, very recent coverage, November 2025, highlights a lawless rush for rare earth materials and coltan
in Venezuela's Amazon border zones. And guerrilla groups, criminal gangs, and corrupt actors are tapping into global demand for clean energy and defense tech minerals, intertwining mining with drug trafficking, extortion, and kidnapping. The Guardian just put that one out. Ooh, that's all the themes that are happening right now.
And the rare earth minerals.
Yeah, I mean, that deal in China was all about the rare earth
what
minerals.
What is that being used for? Is that what you need for AI?
For phones, yeah, and a lot of this stuff and all the tech stuff, yeah. Even the deal with Ukraine was about rare earth minerals.
Right.
Right, that we would keep protecting them for that. That happened this year too. Wow, like so the whole Venezuela thing is a lot more than just we're just getting some narco guys in their boat and something else going on. Wow, so I'm interested in this. This is I'll be paying attention a little bit more to this now because now I'm like, it looks like America wants to be the Spanish again, do the conquistador thing. Yeah. Let's get rid of them Aztecs.
But we'll be saying that we're
getting rid of the guerrilla groups.
Yeah, because they're using illegal labor. So we're going to be depicting those groups as the ones, the conquistadors.
Look, it gave me this recommendation of the next step tailored to my mission. Like, use an AI agent called Sacred Landscape Agent to ingest satellite LiDAR imagery of the region, identify potential new art sites of anomalies, and flag them for further investigation.
Wow.
Create a short cinematic piece for your network, exploring the discovery using the dramatic visuals of the tepe landscapes, remote caves, rock art, and overlaying ancient cosmology. You could tie to Leo King style astrology tips as cosmic pillars.
I want to see what those are. This
is how important prompting and system prompting is. But yeah, like that's pretty interesting there now.
Yeah, because then also it's interesting that at the same time, what's come out is all that stuff about the new rock art. And
that the people were X-shaped figures. Right? And star patterns. So, I mean, I'm going to try to decode one. Let's just for a second.
And oh, wow.
Oh, man. Look at that. Triple X. With like 3 Atlas coming to the right? All 3 planets. Fucking Mars, Venus, Jupiter. That could
be lights being beamed down.
No, like, that's kind of crazy, though. Like, wow, this is like some weird ass shit.
But it's interesting.
Whoa, look at the X's again, and then okay, and then
is this was found in the Tepuis Mountains?
Uh-huh.
It's they're really interesting. They're ancient flat top mountains with sheer vertical cliffs.
Yeah,
some of the oldest rocks on Earth.
Yeah. Look at this like X right here that's sitting on this like
skateboard.
And then all these like dots on the bottom. That could be like a flying saucer.
That could be.
And then it's almost like they invert that there. And I'll be honest, this looks like some really old, like the most unevolved versions of our humanity. Or maybe they took too much Tylenol. Maybe their moms were eating Tylenol 14,000 years ago, and the kids just drew all this. And I want to know, is this like blood that they wrote it on, or
probably?
But like, it's kind of weird. It's like this is like, look at this. It's like the fountain of the triple X, which is weird because triple X is what we use for like sex in today's society, right? Like that's what triple X means. And I know they made a movie Triple X fucking with, back in the day, but it wasn't about that. But like,
It's our warning.
Whenever you see triple X
It's just
in
like,
Amsterdam or anywhere, it's like, okay, that's a dirty bookstore. That's a this, that's a that, right?
but look at all those dots in the background.
It's like a waterfall.
I think it's like marking
Or it could
days
be-
or something.
It could be that, or it could be star. I mean, to me, I
could be,
find it
yeah.
interesting that with this triple X, there's like there's some sort of like weird like something shooting in the air if it's flying. Those two like lines that go head towards that triple X, and then these lines coming down next to it. They're like really focused on that, and then this is like a beaker of water. See that? And pouring it down. See?
It was the age of Aquarius.
Maybe
then.
that's
The age of Pluto and Aquarius, not age of Aquarius.
Well, and it would be like 3A Atlas coming to that triple conjunction of Sun, Mars, Venus, opposition to Jupiter. And 3A Atlas will be in Leo looking at Aquarius. And that's what it is.
That
I don't
is
know. I mean, I
crazy.
told you I'd give it a shot.
Yeah.
I'm the one that always will give it a shot. I will always like try and get there. I'll eat some Tylenol with them and like, let's do this.
That is, I mean, I saw a stick figure with like a mirror feet or something, and I didn't even see that line. And but when you said that, it looks like a bucket pouring water, but it is hitting the Y. Like, isn't that XXXY? Or
Well,
do
that's
you not
what's
see a
interesting
Y?
is like John D is the one who really, and Pythagoras, right, go into the XY. Those are the chromosomes, of course, of men and women, but the Y is the Pythagorean Y of how to live your spiritual life that then John D brings into his teachings about how to live spiritually or as a tyrant. And that's connected, of course, to Monas hieroglyphicus, and it's all about hieroglyphics, but the monad and bringing it all together, and the X, of course, so important to understand, not just from even Nostradamus chapters, right? That's the critical mass moment is when we reach an X10, Roman numeral 10. So maybe I don't know. This is very, I don't know. I feel like I need to take a hit of acid, and I'll get back to you after that.
I want to see the other images, because didn't they do X-rays on them or something? What does it look like on that next one?
Yeah, so here's,
wow.
yeah, okay.
So you can really see it all there.
Oh, look at, yes, there was a lot of like big crossing here.
But what is that other thing? Is that a rocket? Is that a tree to the left? Right there.
I don't know. Maybe this was like a stick figure god animal. It is very weird. But it's almost like what I noticed is like where we see this beaker, the design above, like the man, but without a head, or it's the head inverted and the hands up. It's like they are kind of creating like people that way from like the way I look at it. Like almost like this is interesting here. This is probably the most interesting, because this is where they're trying to help you understand the X's. And then there's this, triangle here, but there's also like an element that, you could say that this is like an element. If you understand elements and what they look like too. And then there's another like figure connected to it. So if you notice in the same diamond here shape, here there's another connection, and it's like got a line connecting somewhere else. And actually you can see there's an X where the beaker comes down. There's another line that goes through it there that connects the water or the drips of whatever the fuck, or the stars or whatever. But they're trying to show you, and then it connects it to the 3 X's down here. See? And here they've got the 2 X's.
And then there's
here.
there's 2 crosses. Did you see?
Look at these even other weird, like, yeah, where's the two crosses at?
I mean, so there's a cross going across the water, but then
Oh.
look to the right of that little guy with the beaker. It's like the cross.
Oh, yeah, in a box right there.
Mhm. But it's like, I would, like the Four Seasons or whatever, or the axis of the.
Maybe this is like Orion's belt, the 3 axes.
Could be, yeah.
And the opposite of the Milky Way, because
Oh, yeah.
right, like, you know what I mean, like it comes through
Mhm.
the end of Gemini and the end of Sag, but of course galactic center is there, it's brighter, but you still see so much. And actually all ancients point to that area, the north, and Orion has the Dipper, so actually the Dipper
Oh, yeah.
in Orion's belt, that's what it is.
But why? I mean, still, there's like
And then
a
actually,
Y.
if you were to follow the way that it would traditionally be, that you would look, then over here would be Leo, and this is the lion. And
Where?
even that could be to the left over my head could be a lion. See how it looks like at one time it was drawn above my.
Mhm.
This looks like a lion.
Or even whatever.
I'm just
critter,
using the
whatever
constellations
creature
of
they have
like
that looks that.
Orion and the Cancer, and then like the most like interesting part is like the most like coming down is like as if it was the Milky Way galaxy, right? Coming down, and that's exactly where you'd see it. You'd see Orion, you'd see the Dipper, right? And then if you keep going, then eventually you reach the lion, and on the ecliptic, which would be this kind of like line, right? You see the only fixed star is Regulus that sits on the ecliptic, and the lion is sitting right there on the ecliptic.
What constellation then, if you go to the right, if you think that's Leo, then the next one and then that next one, it would be, which direction is that going?
It's kind of crazy because if you kind of see from this stick figure, which would be one of maybe the astronomer or the person, that this is them on top of the ecliptic of what they're seeing.
Mm-hmm.
But then this is like them looking out kind of far out into where it kind of disperses into nothing, which this would be the twins.
Oh, those 2 X's.
Right. Gemini, Cancer, Leo.
Which one would be Cancer, do you think?
Oh, we're right here where Orion's belt is and where the Dipper is. Especially going back that far back, precession is different.
And you
if
see
anything,
Orion's
it would
belt
probably-
as those 3 X's?
The 3 X's.
Okay.
That I think the X's are the stars.
And then it's going, and then what about this?
There's actually a
lines-
4th X there too, if you see. It's kind of to the right of that 3 X's. That's into
Yeah,
that.
I keep thinking it's a Y.
tree. I mean, here, if I were to show you like Orion's belt and the Dipper, right? Like 3D view. I don't know, 3D constellations.
Can you look on that
That's
sky?
so shitty. Oh
program
yeah,
that you
I mean, yeah,
use?
I could use Sky View with 3i Atlas and also look at it at the same time. Why not? Right? There we go. And of course, I'm going to go to more like Earth's point of view, right? So like that's looking at Sagittarius right there. So if we were on Earth right now, like I wish I could do this from Earth, but here. The best I can do is like just do this. Like this is our Earth view right now, right? So right now, Mercury Mars are conjunct with Mercury retrograde. And if I do this, sorry, I'm using a trackpad, so it's not the best. There. See, that's the Mercury Mars conjunction right now from Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that's our view right now. Okay. If we turn around to go look up at Jupiter, right? Okay. Now there is the other side of the Milky Way. And this is why I think it's the coming down, right? And you have to look a little bit higher, but this doesn't show the, so I need a 3D constellation, viewer. Here we go, star maps. All right. Auto took my location. Perfect. Allow this time. Okay. Auto tech. Perfect. Thank you.
Aha, there we go.
All right. So that's looking south right now. So we're going to have to look. So yeah. Okay. This should be like Leo right here, right? Okay. Oh no, there's Pluto. So we got to go over. There's the galactic center. Here's 3A Atlas right now, right? But now we got to look to this side of things, and this is where we go up. So here's the Crab Nebula. All right. Man, this thing is going to be a little bit funky, but there's a couple different ways we could look at it.
What are those lines coming off of the...
Here. So this is where I think those 3 stars are that they're trying to point out.
Mm.
And you could go, of course, higher. So like here's that little dipper there, right? But that's like to the side. And I think they really were looking at it like this, right? Like because what you're going to notice is this thing's like a little like off on the orb, right? It's like a little like, there, this will make it easier. Thank you. So like here's Uranus, and then like the 7, the Pleiades cluster should be like,
Yeah, I just
right.
saw it down lower, or
Hold on.
yeah, right there.
Yeah, here it is right here, right? So this thing's not really good at like showing us, like I'm having to like find it myself, and then like, all right. So there's the Pleiades cluster, right? Then of course the twins sit over here. Okay. So that we got to find a better one. You know what?
I have that one on my phone.
Hold on. Solar. Did I never download?
What was the one that I got? I have
No, I know.
Sky View. Yeah, that's the one you just tried before.
Hold on. Let's just go back. There's better than this. This is fucking horrible, to be honest with you. Really bad. I had to redo my Mac recently, so I lost some of those programs. I just had to reload them, but I don't really. Man, it's like really this like fuck you. 3D. I'm gonna give it one more time.
I'm sitting here trying to look at stars myself.
No, hold on. Here we
There's a
go.
giraffe constellation. I have no idea.
Okay, we want to do view settings, ecliptic line, meridian line. Okay, cool. Yeah, okay. This is a little better.
Yeah.
But hold on. Deep sky objects, constellations. Here we go. There we go. Yeah. Orion. Okay. There we go. So there's the triple X that I think, right? The 3. And then I think also, so there's the twins, right? Now, if I move this hour-wise, right, to get up, there's like the X Cancer too. You can look at it that way, but like there's Leo with Regulus on the ascendant, right? So I think if you were to like look at it the way they did, you could use it as a couple different ways, but I think that, man, this thing is hard to control. That I think that's what they're pointing to, is that right? Like, I mean, it could be doing with Sirius as well.
Yeah.
But I definitely think Orion is the 3, because that's very, like, the first thing I thought was like, oh, there we go. There's the 3 in a row. See that?
Mhm.
And then actually that's the shape of like some of those things, right? Like it's kind of like, and what's weird is like, this is where, you know, the ancients all over the world pointed everything to, right? So to me, I think it's them looking at Orion to, man, this thing is so hard to control. Like, give me a break. So I think it could be that. And then I think that it's spanning because they show an ecliptic, right?
Mhm.
There's the twins, the 2 X's by themselves, right? And then, of course, there's Leo the lion that's sitting on the ecliptic that they have. Now I'm just going to go back, right? Where was this here? That like the lion is right here, the very left. You see him on the ecliptic?
Where by like
You could see the formation. It looks like a little
Mhm.
animal,
yeah.
right? Then you keep going, and that's where then you get to Orion Cancer. And so that would have been like the 2 constellations. But then if you would have been like looking farther and what's setting on the horizon would have been the twins way up here.
Hmm.
That's what I think. And the Dipper. And if you notice from the sky, there's like all this like writing coming up. You see that? And it kind of goes across the top of the sky to this X point. So it's like he's trying to have you think about, he's forming himself. Look at that. It's crazy. If you follow this dude that's sitting on the ecliptic right here, this guy, the tree dude, his like, it's like he's like transmuting into that guy and then transmuting into that figure with the 2 X's. And you could even see the formation of what the constellation of Gemini looks like is behind the 2 X's.
Yeah, it is.
Right? And then the way out. What's crazy is everybody is always like, that is the land of milk and honey. That is the route out. That is the heavens. Right?
Yeah, and so you mean like that A thing at the top
Yeah.
is pointing sort
And
of
then,
like,
but like he like turns from this like tree guy, and then you see him kind of come up, right? Like it's so crazy. Just follow him from like where 2 o'clock is and follow all the way 2 o'clock up to the top where then the Dipper thing is. It like is mutating in all these shapes, and then it reaches that place where Gemini is, and it's the only way out. And then there's a little guy out, the same way that John D drew
I know, I was thinking of
the
his
horizon
tree
of
too.
eternity, and
Yeah.
the monad is reversed, flipped. Good thing I study all
Yeah,
this
well, he
ancient
got
shit.
his scrying mirror from
And he got
the
a scrying
Aztecs
mirror
or
from the
whatever.
Aztecs, which these guys might have been, you know, the original
yeah.
people playing with it. I don't know. But like,
But to me, it looks almost like the universe or whatever was drawn or was already here, and then someone went through and taught it with these annotations.
very much. It
You
could be
know?
that too. Yeah, for sure. I mean,
Yeah,
I
because
mean,
they-
like somebody drew this as the ecliptic.
You mean like that line?
The
that's
black
going
line.
down?
Yeah. That's
And
clear.
you can't really see that in the other one, right? Like this is X-rayed or something.
Well,
But the
now I'll give
other
it new
one?
eyes, and it's like, oh,
Oh, yeah,
can
you see it's like
it.
a-
But it
It's
makes
like
you,
a crack.
it makes it think kind of like it just looks like a root or something built into it or something, right? And they cut it off where we couldn't see the lion or the animal,
Mhm.
right? But now that you see it, like looking at it like this, and then you see the X's, it's like, okay. But it's interesting because if you were to look at it like as a person sitting on the north part, top of the ecliptic, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like, that's kind of how it would look, and what you would see setting is that's far away, but it's like, that's where things are. It's also telling them where they are in time too, which would have been, if this is probably on a wall, I mean, for them to see that so clearly would have been in the winter. So you don't,
Well, you could
you
even
don't,
do.
but the equator's there. So it actually might be the right? That's where it gets a little funky. It's far south.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It'd be interesting to go to that location and then look at the sky view of what they saw from that location.
Yeah. So, but I think
you can do that
100%
in your-
that's what it is, like, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, that's what.
And
it
that's where
is
3i
in so
Atlas
many
is heading.
places.
That's the path of 3i Atlas.
Interesting. Very interesting.
I mean, like, eventually, but like that's where at the end of, or the beginning of 2026, it'll be right where the stick figure guy is. That it's going to 10 Cancer.
Well, very interesting.
Right? From one end of the galaxy, of the Milky Way, to the other, and retrograding through our whole solar system to get to the other side. That's what's so weird if you follow the trajectory of it, that it's like, to me, I'm like, it's just doing a little like curve around, like, hi, but I'm going from one end of the galaxy to the other. Bye. So there might be something to that. Plus, if you think of like Pleiades and the Pleiadians and all these old ancient talks of star people, all that kind of stuff, right? Like, there's two sides. So these guys would have aligned with the northern star seeds, right? So these are more of the good guys, right? And there would have been more communication, because people who communicate with people from the south are usually Luciferian or reptilian or darker art stuff. But yeah, anyway, I think that's kind of crazy that we even ended up here.
I know.
Right? Like, actually, hold on. Oh yeah.
Well,
so
the
like,
astrology led us there.
look at, so that's
the actual location.
Yeah.
What is that? I'm trying to see the guy who was standing there.
Oh, it looks like a guy trying to figure it out. Probably doesn't know what he's doing, but God bless him. What's kind of crazy is that looks like they didn't go higher.
Look at how there's like
an
X carved in, or a cross carved into it, or that's the natural structure right there.
It might not be. It might be, but that would be interesting, because
wouldn't it be great to see the whole thing and to actually be there?
What is it called again? Venezuelan explorers' new discovery gives clues. Oh, here's a way clearer picture. Look at how, okay.
Oh, there it is.
That is the cross. The Southern Cross, the Northern Cross.
That's a lot bigger than I thought it was.
Right? Look at how there's another, that is intentional, the arc below.
Yeah. That was carved in.
That was carved in for sure. And I'm right. That is a fucking animal.
Where? Let me see. You have to zoom in.
It won't let me zoom in anymore, but there's got to be a better picture. What? That's all they gave this guy? That's all they gave this guy? And this was last year. But what was this place called? Like, rock art panel and tabletop. Okay. We're going to get this shit right. Here we go. Axios just gave this guy one picture and okay. Like, what's that? Like, geez. Here we go. Let's see here. Ooh. Ooh, see, these guys are getting way more precise here. I like this. Hold on a second. Okay.
This is from Rock Art Research, huh?
They were finger marked using fingers, use of the entire hand.
Dry pigment pieces, like a
Ooh,
crayon.
the yellow panel image. That was a different side. What are they saying this is of? Oh. Ooh.
I mean, that's like the whole, that could be the whole night sky, or it could be each season.
Maybe they'll get to describing what they think it is. Oh, the yellow panel over here. There's another X.
They just say geometric figure. What is it? The caption of that picture up there?
Yellow panels showing some
Right
of the
there.
digitally traced motifs extracted with Photoshop. Mm.
What is happening there?
I don't know. I'm trying to.
Mineral accretion panel.
These people are like, oh, here's the interpretation.
We presented the typology and distribution of the signs.
Y signs and tectiforms.
Dot patterns, peniforms, Y sign, and tectiforms. Universal or timeless meaning.
Yeah, I'm just reading it to the right paragraph is like the up here, like is the interpretation, and then it continues.
What? He explores the use of universal motifs. What is it saying? Something about the human brain.
This approach is rooted in the human brain, visual system, neural processes, and motor actions, representing humanity's endeavor to create realities through artistic expression. It sounds like a very thoughtless person.
Isn't it funny? They're always talking about there must be these universal symbols. But if you look in the sky, those universal symbols are up there.
Right.
Right? And why do they never think about that? Or maybe they do. New petroglyphs.
Mm.
What? Okay, so it's comparing things from other regions?
Yeah.
Huh, I have to find this article. I want to read it.
Wow, how did they not get it? People call themselves like scientists. Are they all just stealing? Okay, there. This picture's now a little bit better. Man, it's hard just to, somebody has to like give me a better, like higher quality res pic. But no, they just like be Latina picture. Blah, blah, blah.
Well, there.
Yeah, we saw those like National Geographic at least unlock access.
Is this the one that's in the Arawak
Yeah.
River Valley?
Yep.
Okay. Found the article, so I want to look at it later. I love how we're sitting here kind of talking like we would just be sitting here talking about these things. I hope
Yeah, and
people
this
are
is
still
4,000
finding it
years
interesting.
old. So
4,000. I thought it said it was older before.
emergence of a new culture.
Oh, there's a bunch of those.
I just want the
lines again.
picture with the fucking thing original. Like, there's why does Axios and B Latina are the only people that have it? Like, I want like the largest fucking pic you could get. So size large. That's it. This is what they're saying is large is 1920 by 1080, and they don't let you actually click it. These people are retarded. Like, you're gonna be kidding me right now. How sad is that? Search for this. Here we go. I want like needs to be full res illusion.
Yeah, I think National Geographic must have images of it.
Yeah, how much of a gambit is that?
Yeah, they own everything.
What is that?
That's interesting.
Well, looks like Trump and all them are coming for that shit. Based off the astrology. I'm just disappointed. I can't believe the one picture I want, nobody has it, really.
Well, if anyone has a high resolution picture of that,
Exact, man.
please email it to David. It's interesting that it just came back up in the news. It looks like it's a year ago and it came back up again. Maybe they're worried about it being destroyed.
Maybe. I mean, I'm not going to spend the time, but I could put it in one of my AI upscalers and upscale that bitch fucking great, but it'll take like 4 minutes. So,
Yeah.
all right. Well, it's kind of crazy because look at how many sites. Maybe the Arabs are the ones that are going to Alibaba News. Alibaba News. Like maybe.
Oh, wow. That's a nice
Maybe
picture.
they'll like.
You have to translate the page.
No, they don't give me the big high res either. Alibaba. None of them. We're in a world today where nobody cares about pictures. All right, well, one with that maybe we could put like the Spanish conquest of the Aztecs and remind people that this shit happened, that this is the astrology of the beginnings of that, and that continued. Because this was the first, the fall of Tunisian. That's actually, we just went through that astrology recently.
Mm-hmm.
And then now we're in where it just continues. Right? So, and the Incans get taken down. But yeah, like, it's kind of interesting because it's like the Spanish conquest of Chiapas, and then Aztec omens of conquest. Oh.
Yeah, comet. So interesting. That's from the
Oh,
I can't remember if it's the something codex, the Florentine Codex.
right. But I think it's interesting with 3 Atlas showing up, and Venezuela might be getting invaded with the same astrology, but invaded.
Well, and then think about how
And there's all these comments, right? Montezuma
Mhm.
was probably eating a human. Oh, look at the comment.
He was saying it's a good night for a human.
You
There's
know,
a
and that's what's so
comment.
interesting is it's pretty close to Venezuela, right? Like it's not that far away. The second in 35, the Spanish second quest to the Yucatan to try and fully take it over, they backed out. They were like, no, we need more people and men in 15. And so maybe this is us dipping our toe into it, but not fully doing it yet. But I think, and of course, look at it, it's like the meeting of Cortez. Oh
Gotta always
boy,
have your
it's
musicians.
gonna get crazy out there. Montezuma is received by Cortez.
Hmm.
The Christian imagery already starting to come in. Very those are the imageries of like the Crusades, like the idea of coming into the Holy Land, you know.
Yeah, they're all holding up things that kind of look like palms.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's kind of crazy that we're into this major land shift and dispute that just kind of an overpowering country just comes in and really doesn't ask and doesn't kind of acts like, hey, let's talk or whatever, but really just, of course, this is the depiction of the Aztecs are here to eat you. Right?
Seen from the opera La
Right.
Conquista.
But if you,
So one day they'll be writing operas.
but really
about
it's
this time.
of the Incan Empire that happens now. That's what's kind of the crazy part is that we're in the 1532, and then we're now, if we actually think of where were they in 1535 during this conquest? Lima.
Bizarre.
So they were in Peru, which is right next to Venezuela and all that shit. We just showed it on the map.
Hmm.
That's all part of it. Is there anything happening in Venezuela? Close to there? Listen to this. The same dude who set up Peru, right? Steals
Pizarro.
Manco Inca's wife. In 1536, Manco rebels and surrounds Cusco. Juan Perazzo is killed, and Inca general Quizi Yapanqui attacks Lima. One of them stole one of the Incans' wife.
Yeah.
That is
good.
insane.
I'm just wondering how they got to Peru. What was the route that they took? Were they coming from? Because they could have gone through Venezuela. That's what I was just thinking.
They
about.
went. I can't even believe it, but they went through. They came on the conquest of Peru.
They would have come
Yeah, it
down
looks
from
like they
Mexico.
did. If you follow these black lines.
Oh,
Yeah. Look at that. If you follow the black lines, like, see, like here's Conqueta, and then here's
are those? I think those are just rivers, though. that are
really?
coming
I
through.
mean, they could
right?
be.
I don't know. They probably came down from Mexico.
The red is the route. Okay, so
Mhm.
they
They came
Yep.
down the coast.
they didn't came down the coast. All right, so they didn't do the Venezuela thing. Kind of wish they did, but there lies Peru with its riches. Here, Panama and its poverty. Choose each man. What best man becomes a brave Castilian? Francisco Pizarro, 1529.
Huh.
But that means this has to go into the why did he steal the wife? I just want to know, because maybe wife stealing is 2027. In 1535, he felt he left Cusco under the control of the Pizarro brothers. Manco Inca initially had good relations. Okay. And then Juan and Gonzalo, who were mistreated by Manco, they ultimately rebelled under the prestige under recovering a statue of pure gold in a nearby Wohlcke Valley. Manco was able to escape. Manco Inca hoped to use the disagreement between Almargo and Prazo to his advantage and attempted to recapture the Cusco starting. The siege of Cusco was waged until the following spring, and during that time, Manco's armies managed to wipe out 4 relief columns sent to Lima, but it was unsuccessful. Where's the stealing of the wife?
It was Francisco Pizarro's brother, Gonzalo Pizarro, who forcibly took the Inca leader Manco Inca's principal wife, Cura Accio, and as his concubine. This is on a series of severe abuses and humiliations that led Manco Inca to escape Spanish custody and launch a major rebellion. But it doesn't say, why. I guess just because you conquered her. Oh, it is also worth noting that Francisco Pizarro himself took Atahualpa's 10-year-old wife, sister Curima Accio, later renamed Doña Angelina, as his mistress. The pattern of the conquistadors using Inca women to assert dominance and consolidate power.
And convert them into Catholics.
And create more Catholics, I guess. So that's 1532.
Hey, this
was painted in 1920.
Look at this is mind blowing, because then it's like after all this is like the engraving depicted as the Spanish conquistador Francisco Pizarro exposing before King Carlos I of Spain the evidence of the discovery of the fabulous empire of the Incas. Like, hey, let me show you this painting, and thank you with my Ottoman, like, hey, thank you. What else do you need to steal? And I want all the good stuff, and bring some of them Incan women here, and bring this and bring that. Okay, thank you. Really?
He's like, okay, next.
Looks like the White House today. Right? This is what the astrology is. This is the founding of Lima. And look at that. They got Jesus Christ on the cross right there. Like they're the old days of trying to bring back the what do you call it? The Crusades. They carried those.
Yeah. Well, they couldn't win fully over against the Ottoman Empire, so they had to find a whole new place.
If I was an Incan or an Aztec guy, and I saw these dudes rolling up with a dead guy strapped
on a cross,
I'd be like, "Did you guys like eat this guy and like really liked him a lot?" Well, we eat his body every Sunday,
and they were like,
and we drink his blood on Sunday. You guys really like this guy. You guys get a fetish? Right? He looks like kind of feminine in that too. You know what I mean?
Jesus?
Yeah. It's really weird.
He was emaciated.
I mean, that whole thing is just so weird to me. But yeah, so anyway, I mean, that's what I think out of where we're at. I'm not surprised to see this Venezuela thing in the news, because that's actually more in alignment, and that's an old ancient empire now, where new discovery in the last year of this whole new culture and a whole new ancient culture and gold mines and all these things that are happening there and oil and contested land. And that makes sense with this astrology.
Mm-hmm.
Especially whoever's following the gold. Oh, that's why you brought up what I said in Texas, because the Saturn Neptune conjunction is all about the very first gold on a human ever found. It's 6,400 years old that they didn't believe humans had gold then, but why did this guy have all the gold on him?
Right.
And that's why I told people in Texas, do not trust anybody who's praising like gold as a leader. Like, I don't trust Trump because of his, like, something's taking him over, or it's not Trump, like the whole Biden thing. It's like the same thing. But like, it's kind of scary because anybody who's that way during these transits don't follow their lead into these crazy things.
Look for the spiritual gold instead.
Yeah, it doesn't end up good. But anyway, I think that's fucking crazy. To me, I'm more mind blown about this than...
Well, the thing about this is that it's all at the very top levels of society that this is happening. And even if you are opposed to going into these regions, it's just happening anyway, right? Or
right. Yeah, I would agree.
You know,
I would say that Neptune, Aries, Pisces, and Aquarius last time, and we're having again, is it's either forced religion on you, like what happened in the Central and South Americas, or you say fuck you, I'm doing it my way, and that's the Neptunian very split. There's always a split,
right?
That the split is there's going to be half the world forced, half the world saying, not doing this no more.
And what are they going to be doing, those people? Are they
like forming like the Church of England and the reformers and the idea of like reforming and Lutheran and just saying no to that way. And yeah, there's going to be some backlash to that, but they win in the end. But then you see the old timers go and convert new people. Right. So
the people think, oh, we're winning. We're getting the church to change because look at how much, what a big impact we're having. And then, no, we're going to find new sources of income, new riches, new people to convert, new land.
Right.
This is, when a lot of them die off, we'll still like go settle those places and mine the ones that are left. And
yeah, I mean, so good luck out there. If you're in Venezuela watching this right now, like get out. Or go to that to that place and find the miners and start mining for gold illegally. I don't know. Do whatever you got to do.
Yeah.
Or go find that rock and chill there. And wait for the weird dude to come out of Gemini and he'll help you out. But get out.
Well,
I won't make that as a solid prediction, but I'll give it like a 90% chance that we do go in. And
that we get rich. Somehow we find something
and that's how World War II really was. And we're in that astrology coming up again, right? And it's all about, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So, well, that was a good show.
Yep.
I know we had to crack this, like, going into this part of the astrology and these historical themes, but I find it fascinating, just the steamroll that came in. Just even think, I'm just going to take this Inca's wife. Like it's just crazy.
Yeah, at least he took the older one. The other one got the 10-year-old. I mean, it's just crazy.
Oh, that's very Muslim-like, but yeah.
It's very.
That's what Muhammad did, but she was 7 or 6.
Yeah.
It's actually in the Quran about like, I don't even want to go there, but cleaning up the male stuff.
Yeah, I
Of
mean,
the
in the
child and
context
all that
of a
weird
society
stuff.
where women were just property, that's
Well,
what
it's
you
like
see in each.
there's something happening right now in the Middle East where these rich old men in the Middle East are like dressing young boys as girls. Have you been seeing all about that?
No,
Oh yeah. Right. And so like for some reason the Middle East loves little boys and little kids. Muhammad lovers love the little kid thing. And then I guess the Spanish try to do the whole, well, I'll take the older one. But it's still weird.
yeah,
But that was the thing, because the holy wars, you know, whatever side won, you know, and you know, the Christians would at least not like take the women as slaves. Whereas every time the Ottoman Empire and the Muslims did, they took all the women and made them their slaves and wives and shit like that. So, not to say the Christians didn't do bad shit too, but that was one thing they didn't do. And so we did that history in Saladin when he had won.
mm-hmm.
He was nice to be like, no, the women can leave, but you need to leave me like at least 50,000 men that you don't care about much to be my slaves, right? And they said yes, and they gave him 50,000 soldiers to be like.
It reminds me of that
I'm like,
movie that
wow.
that you had watched and then I did about Dracula, or what is the movie that we watched? I watched it and you had watched it already. It was about Transylvania and.
Oh yeah, I forgot the name of the movie. It was really good though.
But it seemed like
It's
there
kind
were
of intense
a lot
though. It's about the original Dracula and his roots
Mhm.
in Transylvania, but then he like has to like stay alive, so he comes out and he has to.
But aren't there a bunch of enslaved soldiers or something that
Yeah.
had to fight for him or the other
And
side?
like and he like has to keep it all under wraps, even from his wife. But then she finds out.
But he's also a vampire too, right?
Right. That's why he like can go through a whole army and kill everybody. It's kind of crazy movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's like he goes through like 40,000 men. He's just like, yeah, it's a good movie, but yeah. But no, I mean, I don't know. I think it's kind of weird because in our lives, you know, there's not a lot happening down there. You know what I mean? It's not like. It almost feels like it never could happen just because it's not like we get involved or Europe or not like there's these big involvements or wars down in South America that we're involved in, or, you know, it's like kind of like, eh. But right now, we're there right now as of in the last 24 hours. And 200,000 men in Venezuela are armed, ready to go, that are the military there against American troops.
Yeah. I wish every time, okay, here's what I'd like to see plotted on a graph. Every time that the Epstein files become news in some way or the other, what else is happening in the world?
Yep. I bet you actually I can build an AI agent that would figure that out over the next week, and it would run all night and all day. And it would give you every incident, and it would give us the graphs, and it would say this is what plays out most, and this is their go-to plan. I can do that.
I mean, and then it'd be interesting to look at the history and say, you know, every time Henry had an issue with Anne Boleyn or with a wife, every time he killed a wife, what else was going on?
Right. Whenever a head was rolling, what else was rolling?
Right.
What other rock was rolling down the hill of life? But yeah, so I mean, I'm kind of like that to me is like the craziest stuff, is that we're there. We're like in this weird like Venezuela thing, like, oh my gosh, like, you know, so even with like this Mercury Mars conjunction right now, and then all these big things that are happening and ready to really be messy over the next 70, 80 days, and then going into the craziest year of our lives, 2026. This is no joke that we are right there right now. Will the U.S. attack Venezuela after deploying it? I mean, there's those mountains.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't fuck around. That's the new one. That's our new boy. One of our newer ones. The Ford, that's like the big dog. That's the new fucking class of the CVs. That thing is like hardcore. Hardcore. See how many jets are on that thing? You know how many jets are underneath that? The same amount or more?
Huh. That is crazy.
So, you got probably 7, 8 squadrons on there with their full 13. They usually have 12 to 13 aircraft a squadron. They usually bring sometimes the top 6 planes they got and pilots, 7. Sometimes they'll bring 10 pilots for every 6 planes, but And if I'm correct, let's just see. You know how we'll see if it's going to be successful or not? This might blow your mind, but which strike fighter squadrons are connected to it? Okay. So these are the 3 Super Hornet groups with it. And it's part of Strike Carrier Group 12. And that's, I think it's East Coast. Yeah, Virginia. So I'm not going to lie. These are the backups. Okay. The hardcore is the Pacific Fleet. Whenever you see a boat with strike fighter, there's only 4 strike fighter squadrons on this bitch. That's kind of scary. It's like, Yeah, so it shifted home port to San Diego and then was the first U.S. to deploy with a naval integrated fire control. Yeah, okay. 2006 deployment, and this departed Virginia. Yeah, these strike fighter squadrons are kind of weak. Not a lot of Top Gun pilots are from here. Let's just say that. They're all the Pacific Fleet. So I know too much about this shit. So we're done. If I'm getting into that, we're done. I'm getting into that. I'm like, that means like Trump's like, just send the guy, send the B team, send the C team. That's like the C team.
Yeah.
4 squadrons connected to that boat. And it's the Virginia class. Yeah, no. That's the B team. Maybe even the C. So.
I was just looking at the High Vibe chat, and it's interesting what JC is saying. And he's just saying a few things about, the politicians in Venezuela. Google Carlos Ron, Venezuelan Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs. He was educated at New Jersey Rutgers University. And then I'm just asking, he said, they are not ready to go, David. They will escort the U.S. military into their White House. But I don't know what he was responding to. So I was waiting for more clarification.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah, look at this was founded Carrier Strike Group 12, October 1st, 2004. And so these guys just don't have the same, like the really old, we're talking like the Vietnam War, the World War II, like all the old enriched strike fighter squadrons. So like they're on the East Coast, so they don't have a lot of places to train. Like on the West Coast, we have 90% of Nevada is government land. You can't build a home on it or anything. It's all for testing military.
What were we doing
And then
When
we're
was
about
it when
now we're
we were
about to start
firing
testing
over the
nukes. We're
freeway?
about to start testing nukes. That was the 250th anniversary of the Marines, and it was JD Vance, and they were down here at Camp Pendleton, and they had live fire.
But wasn't it coming from the ocean?
Yeah, and they were
over?
down. Yeah, they were down. On the, yeah, but that's the Marines, and the Marines
Yeah.
are based down here at Pendleton, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you go to boot camp on the East Coast, but you know, you train to be a Marine, like as far as once you're out of boot camp at Pendleton.
Mm-hmm.
And then our big strike fighter groups all are in San Diego, but the planes are based in Lemoore, California, and the Top Gun is up in the top of Fallon, Nevada. So the guys on the East Coast, they don't get to fly like, they don't get to do like, I know all the real drills they do because I used to be a plane captain. Like, they're not targeting in the desert at like Mach 5, like fucking like every day, and having a barrel roll at the speed of sound and hit fucking targets.
Well,
You know
they
what I
don't
mean?
Need to be. I mean, the
So that's why-
conquistadors didn't have like super
Yeah,
weapons either.
these are the B team. This is the guys on the
because
bench.
the A team was in.
Yeah,
with
like
the Ottoman
if it's
Empire.
the Pacific Fleet, you know it's not fucking around. So that's what when George Bush went in Iraqi freedom. It wasn't B team.
But what they do is still important, and like we're not condemning them. It's a
Yeah.
learning place.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just biased because I was in and I was on the Pacific and I was in the baddest. I mean, the actual movie Top Gun, my squadron is in it. Like the guy who's like the fucking cool guy who fucking was the one who was supposed to fucking go, but then he comes and saves their ass at the end. That's VFA 151. That was the same unit I was in. He represented that in the movie, and that was my squadron in the movie. And so the badasses, I know the badasses, and I know the ones that are training. Like so a lot of those pilots are like training.
Yeah. Well, they're getting
So their
a
first thing is to
chance.
be like, go shoot down and kill these 200,000 Venezuelan soldiers. Oh shit!
Mhm.
Pee my pants right now. So, all right, we'll see you on the next one.
All right.
History in the stars.
Bye.
Venezuela. Be careful. Bye bye.
Bye.
Attention, please.
Yo. Okay. Monster.
Attention,